Has the invocation.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure this morning to welcome Mr. Steve Michelini to do the invocation. He's no stranger to City Hall, a longtime friend of the city of Tampa, very, very knowledgeable individual that could tell you many, many things, the history, how the city works, and so much more because he's worked with so many wonderful people over the last few decades. So if we could please stand for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Good morning. A prayer of thanksgiving. As we give thanks, we are reminded that sometimes we are thankful for gifts that we receive, and other times we're grateful for events and elements that we do not receive. The good Lord grants gifts in accordance with those gifts, and prayer is the key. The Lord gives us, and the Lord takes away. When we expect one thing and are given another, it's the Lord's way. We are challenged when considering the Lord's way and not our way. We are thankful for so many gifts, including the gift of life, its challenges and rewards. We are thankful for this day, for our families, our friends, and our prosperity. We are stewards of our own destiny, having received all of God's given tools for what we need to succeed. God is glorious in his power, wonderful in counsel, infinite in mercy, precious in goodness, rich in grace, and without limits in understanding. God will not fail thee, nor forsake thee. Be strong and of good courage. When God puts weighty issues upon our people, he's there to help us. We are assured of the presence and the assistance of the Spirit, which will always stand by us, and the Spirit will strengthen us, support us, and uphold us. God's shield will protect us. His glory will humble us. His power will defend us. His wisdom will enlighten us. His goodness will supply us. His grace will heal us. His mercy is there to pardon us. His joy is there to strengthen for us and the will to go on. His promise is there to cherish. The Spirit is there to lead us. God's strength is there as our shield. Behold the mighty power, the grace, and the glory of Almighty God, and allow those here today to have those gifts be revealed to them. As we are your humble servants, do and focus on the power, the light, the wisdom, the insight, and the fortitude to be showered down upon your people and upon those who appear here today, and upon the city council as they govern and guide its people, the teachers, the first responders, the armed forces, and particularly shine upon the family of David Straz. May they all find peace. We ask this in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Kingfelder. Here. Booth.
Here.
Maniscalco.
Here.
Citro.
Thank you.
Miranda. Clausen. Vieira.
Here. Okay, and before we move to approval of the agenda, I wanted to build on something that Mr. Michelini said in his prayer, which is that we all offer our sincere condolences to the family and loved ones of Mr. David Straz, who passed on, I believe it was Monday evening. God rest his soul, and God bless him in his memory for all that he did for our city through numerous charitable endeavors that touched so many lives. He really is one of the best known citizens of our city, and everybody knew him. So he was a larger than life figure here in Tampa, and he will surely be missed. So God rest his soul. If anybody wanted.
Sure, and I echo what Councilman Vieira said. I've known Mr. Straz for almost 10 years, a very good and humble man. People see, the money and the name and whatnot, but when you get to know him as a person, all he really cared about was giving back and giving back to his community. He loved the arts. He loved the city of Tampa. Although he wasn't from here originally, he embraced Tampa as his home for a very, very long time. And you really wouldn't meet a kinder and more giving individual. There are a few that I've met in my life that when you meet them, you know that they're sincere, that they speak from the heart, that they're not in it for themselves. They're in it to lift other people up and give back. And that's the kind of person he was. Many got to know him through the mayoral campaign, and saw him, out in the open. But when you knew him behind closed doors, he was a very, very kind individual. So my condolences go out to his family, with respect and prayers to them.
Okay, thank you very much. We next move to approval of the agenda. Before we move there, I wanted to make sure for staff reports, which we're having at 10:30, I have 24, 39, 83, and 90, 84, 85, 86, 87, and 89 for staff reports to be held at this time for live ones. If there's any else, please let me know at this time. And the aforementioned staff reports. Okay, being that, those are the ones that we'll have heard at 10:30. May I have approval of the agenda, please? We have a motion by Councilman Miranda, I believe it was, a second by Councilman Scalco. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, first, Councilman Citro for the Police Officer of the Month.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Officer Seligman, did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Come on up here, join me. Get on over here. Stand right there. Mr. Chair, Councilman, I appreciate this time. I will say it again over and over and over. If any of us want to find out what these brave men and women do each and every day, I suggest you go to the Citizens Police Academy, and there you will find out exactly how they serve and protect our community. You are the Officer of the Month, and I congratulate you for that. But this man here will explain the reason why.
Morning, Council. Deputy Chief Lee Burkaw, I'm honored to present our Officer of the Month, Andrew Seligman. He's a 5-year veteran of the Tampa Police Department. He currently works in our Street Anti-Crime Squad in Sulphur Springs. So he's out there making a difference. And I'm going to highlight some of the few things that he is doing that he earned this award. So he's always a top producer on the squad, but he's taking intelligence-led policing to the next level. He comes in early and he researches crime patterns, offenders, and he takes that and he shares it with his squad, and he uses that to solve crimes. On top of the intelligence-led policing and offender-based management, he incorporates community-oriented policing principles in his policing. So when he goes out and sees offenders, he also communicates with the family members and citizens around. Creating this knowledge is what helps him solve crimes. So recently he made several high-profile arrests in the neighborhood, and this removed guns from the streets, countless amounts of narcotics and crimes, and so forth. Recently on an auto burglary and grand theft auto that was highlighted here, handling the return property to the owner. So if you can imagine if your car was stolen and somebody comes back and brings you the keys or brings you your stolen property, just the feeling that you would have inside of somebody coming back. This is what he does to go above and beyond. And without his ability and his work ethic to do that, a lot of these crimes wouldn't have been solved. So I could go on all day about everything that he's done, but for his professionalism, work ethic, outstanding service to the citizens of Tampa, and his effort in the crime fight, he's been selected for our Tampa Police Department Officer of the Month. So congratulations.
Good morning, City Council. It's Jimmy Owens, Tampa PBA Vice President. This is April Larson. She's the Secretary Treasurer. On behalf of the Tampa PBA, we thank the City Council for allowing us to come up here and honor this officer. So on behalf of the Tampa PBA, we offer you this plaque and a watch for your great service to the Tampa Police Department. Busch Gardens cannot make it today, so on their behalf, there's complimentary tickets so you can enjoy Busch Gardens. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning, honorable council members, Officer Seligman, Bob Canigliaro with Casper's Company McDonald's Restaurants. On behalf of our nearly 4,000 employees, I'd like to thank you for your dedicated service, your work ethic, the impact you have on your peers watching you work. Make it safer for all of us here. I have a gift from us, some tokens, a dinner for four certificate, $25 in gift cards, and some tchotchkes you may or may not use, but enjoy them, and thank you very much for your service. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, council members. My name is Todd Rowley from Steps Towing, from Todd Step, and from all of the Steps family. We'd like to present you with 2 gift cards and a certificate for our limousine to be used by you and 18 people anytime within the next year. And we thank you for everything you do. Be safe.
Thank you, sir.
Good
Thank you for everything you do. I'm Lisa with the Doubletree, and we have a 2-night stay with breakfast for 2 and a tin of our Doubletree cookies. Thank you again.
Good morning, Council. Carlos Ramos with the Tampa Hillsborough Expressway Authority, an officer on behalf of the Expressway Authority and the work that you do in the community. I wanted to present to you a gift card to Applebee's, and once again, thank you very much and congratulations.
Thank you.
Good morning, Council. Brian Ford with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And first and foremost, I just want to wish you all a very happy Thanksgiving with your families. Hopefully you get some time. And Officer, Deputy Chief Burkoff, and Officer Seligman, thank you. We have a tradition over at One Buck where we hand out game balls for folks that go over and above. And hearing your story and hearing more about you, you definitely do that. So thank you. On behalf of the Glazer family, our entire organization, we appreciate all that you do to allow us to do what we do, and we wish you all the best this holiday season.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good morning. Good morning. Mary Lou Bailey. I'm here on behalf of Zoo Tampa at Lowry Park. Thank you for your service. I did go to the Citizens Police Academy, so I got a little scared and shook up, but I have no idea what it's like to put myself on the line like you and all of our police officers do every day, and I truly thank you for your service. On behalf of the volunteers who serve on the Board of Directors at Zoo Tampa, we've chipped in to buy your family a membership for an annual pass to the zoo, so we hope you enjoy it and love animals and conservation as much as we do. And it includes access to events like Christmas in the Wild is coming up. So enjoy it in good health, and thank you very much for your service.
Thank you.
Good morning, Council. Michael Kilgore with the Columbia Restaurant Group. On behalf of the Gosmart family and our 115th anniversary of continuous family ownership next year, a $115 gift card to the Columbia. So enjoy. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
Good morning, Council. Leah Van Name with Tampa Theater. Officer, thank you so much for your service in our community. On behalf of Tampa Theater, I'm honored to give you the gift of a membership so you can come and visit us on Franklin Street. Thank you so much, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Deputy Chief Delgado tells me I should keep it short, so here you go. Steve Michelini, on behalf of a couple of different folks, the Chicho's Restaurant Group, you can go enjoy yourself at breakfast, lunch, or dinner. On behalf of Yummy House China Bistro, go enjoy yourself. And I know that he wants to go, so you better invite him. I have to give you another gift certificate just for him. The Metropolitan YMCA is giving you a gift certificate. You can go enjoy yourself there with a membership. And the Forbici Italian restaurant in the Old Hyde Park Village just opened, and it's a great place to go. So congratulations, and thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You know, I cannot express how thankful we, the City Council, are and the citizens of Tampa that you and the other brave women, men and women, are here as our insurance policy. So I thank you and your comrades for being there for us. Because of your dedication to service, commitment to excellence, and the going above and beyond the call of duty, you have been chosen for this mark of distinction as Officer of the Month. From your dedication and technicality, that has led to the arrest of several prolific and violent offenders, to keep unlawful possessions of handguns and drugs off the streets, to helping recover stolen property and given to the rightful owners. Your service is commended by your peers and your superiors. This award is a symbol of your contributions toward making Tampa a better, safer, and more secure place to live, work, and play. It is the City of Tampa's City Council honor to present Officer Andrew Seligman with this commendation on this day, the 21st day of November 2019. Congratulations to you. Now, before you say your word, let's look over here. You got the lectern, my friend.
First off, I want to thank all of you here today. I appreciate it. It's an honor to be here. I couldn't have done it with everybody from the chief's office staff all the way down to my Sarge Corporal, all the way to my whole squad. At work today, it's fun with being here with the squad. They make it the way it is. Thank you to PBA. Thank you to everybody that came here today and gave me some gifts. I really appreciate it. It's an honor. And thank you, and I hope everybody has a happy Thanksgiving and holidays.
Thank you, sir. Anybody like to? Councilman Goods.
Well, good morning. I just want to say thank you for your service and the work you're doing out there in Sulphur Springs. We need it out there. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Anything? Thank you very much, sir, for your work, and I echo what Councilman Good said. We share to a degree Sulphur Springs, and we thank you for all the work you're doing out there, and thank you for your sacrifice. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. We next move to item number 2 for Senator Arthenia Joyner, and I would ask that folks who are leaving please not speak in the halls for purposes of the next commendation, if you would. Thank you, gentlemen and ladies. Thank you. Councilman Good, or Maniscalco.
Good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure this morning to present this commendation, but before I do, I'd like to recognize a few people in the audience. We have our public defender, Julie Holt, and we have Representative Edna Rain, a good friend to many of us here.
And before, Councilman, I'm sorry, if folks who are in the audience could please cease from talking, thank you very much. Go ahead, sir.
All right. Well, before I begin, I'd like to say, and I don't think I've ever said this, but we stand here in the presence of greatness because we are with a living legend, someone who not only lived through history but made history. Senator Joyner is well known by so many, has inspired so many, several generations. Her father as a business owner in the Central Avenue area, which you can see his image at Perry Harvey Park. When you learn the history of what that area used to be and his contributions to the community. Senator Joyner we are here celebrating 50 years of her practicing law as the first black female lawyer in Hillsborough County. She's a civil rights legend, I would say, not just an activist going back well over 50 years. She's been arrested several times in fighting and standing up for what is right. She's shown that she is fearless. She has inspired so many people. She has certainly inspired me and many others that I know. So it's my honor today to welcome Senator Joyner, and we have some of her family with her. Tampa City Council honors Senator Arthenia Joyner for achieving the milestone of becoming the first black female attorney in Hillsborough County to practice law now for 50 years. Former member of the Florida State House and State Senate, she has spent her life standing up for what she believes in and paving the way for others. Throughout her long career in public service, Senator Joyner has always demonstrated a deep commitment to her foundational values of service, equality, civil rights, and an unwavering dedication to the people of Florida. She knows the importance of sharing personal success with those less fortunate. Senator Joyner has always followed her conscience and convictions and was never afraid to make her voice heard on the issues that mattered. So Tampa City Council recognizes you for your compassion, your selfless efforts as you continue to serve the community that you so passionately love, and we love you. It is with pleasure that we present you with this commendation on the 21st day of November, 2019. Congratulations. And if you'd like to stand.
Good morning. Thank you, Councilman Maniscalco, for being the spokesperson for the City Council and bestowing this commendation upon me. I am well, I can't believe that I'm almost speechless. You know, I reflect back on the 50 years, well, actually all of my life, and I go back to my parents who instilled in me a sense of inspiration to always stand up and speak out for what I believed in, even though I sometimes was the only one taking that position. Because you got to live with yourself and look in the mirror each and every day and know that you've done what you think is right for the people. And so I've been honored to do that. And even though there may be differences within the community and with people, it's all about respect and relationships. I've known Connie Burton all her life. I remember when she was born. I knew her parents. And so my relationship with her transcends that of some of you. I met Representative Narain when he was running for office, and we were on opposite sides, but we respect each other because we all share the common goal, both Connie, Ed, and I, and Michelle Patty, working for the people. So I just want to thank you so much for bestowing this honor on me because, as my father often said, to whom much is given, much is required. And as my daughter, he would say, I expect much of you. For we were blessed with his business on Central Avenue. It thrived, it was successful, and it afforded us a wonderful life. I had a wonderful childhood as a child on Central Avenue and Central Park Village right behind us. It was the best. I had 6 strong black female teachers from 1st to 6th grade. Miss Brinson, Miss James, Miss Artes, Miss Doris Ross Reddick, and Miss Sheehy. Each one of those women instilled in me a sense of pride and told me and pushed me and said, you can be anything you want to do or be if you put your mind to it. So the people of Tampa had afforded me the opportunity to have a successful law practice and to serve them in the Florida legislature. I loved it, I enjoyed it, and I'm so happy and pleased that 50 years later, I can see all of these wonderful black women lawyers and men in the city of Tampa, so many that I don't even know them all, but it's great. And it's wonderful for you all to take this moment to say thank you to me because it means so much when you are doing what you were brought here to do. I know what my purpose in life is, and that is serving others. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator. Anybody from council? Councilman Goods and Councilman Dingfelder. Councilman Miranda, go ahead, sir.
Well, you know, it's a great honor for me to stand before you. You've done a lot for our communities. You've been a trailblazer, and a lot of times people go on and never get their flowers by 11. So would be robbery if this council did not give you your flowers now. It's an honor when you get recognition for a job well done, a job you've done. And I'm just honored to say that I know you. You live in my community, from my mother's house. So I just say thank you for the work you've done and the many blessings upon you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Dingfelder.
Senator, thank you so much for your service to our community in so many ways. I think it was about 25 years ago, it was my honor to practice law with you and with Del Stewart and Clark Jordan Holmes for a short while. And to watch you guys practice, to learn underneath the three of you, I learned so much, not just about the law, but about character and about service to our community. And some of the best times I had was going in there and talking to Del. Of course, it would be a long talk. But even to this day, we salute all of you, and especially you. I just wanted to mention, we talk about Central Park, the Jackson House, right up the street there, which has such great history, and the Vinicks being so generous on their donation to restore and rehabilitate the Jackson House. And I know y'all have to be very excited about that. I know we are as well. So a shout out to the Vinicks as well. But we look forward to working with you for many, many more decades on mutual causes. Thank you, Arthenia.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Miranda.
Thank you, Senator, for being here, and thank you. I know it's very difficult for anyone to talk about themselves, especially you, because you're very humble about everything you've done. And when you look at history about yesterday, today, and tomorrow, you were there. But there was 3 words that you said at the end that caught my ear, and those words were, serve in office. Does that mean there's a future? I just heard that. The 3 words that you closed with were serve in office. And I said, well, maybe that's an indication there'll be a future for ones who started and want to continue serving. But I'm not asking you for a comment. I just say what I heard. Thank you very much for all your years of service and everything you've done to help you, the privileged and the underprivileged both.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Citro.
Senator, I thank you for everything that you've done for our community. But personally, I thank you for when you came up to me one day and you said some very, very nice words to me. And I took heed in your words. And you told me that now that I was elected, I'm a leader, but I'm still with the people, and I have to remember them first. And I took those words to heart, and they meant a lot to me. Thank you for all the wisdom you've given me and given others for this community. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Carlson.
Thank you so much for your service, Senator, and for everything you've done over the years. And I'm honored. I think we're honored that you accepted our commendation. So thank you for coming today.
Thank you.
And thank you, and I'll close, Senator, just by saying thank you for all that you do. You know, I say this as an attorney. It's 50 years in the Florida bar. And I come from the Hillsborough County Bar Association, was very active there, still modestly active. I was incoming president of the Tampa Hispanic Bar, work with our friends in Gibalot Hall. And for these folks, you are the person that every single member and every single person in leadership there knows. They all know Senator Arthur Joyner because they all follow in your footsteps. They all walk in your shoes in terms of the sacrifices that you've made. You know, your name is consistent with people in Tampa history, people like Francisco Rodriguez, people like Robert Saunders, so many other names of people who were so courageous in their time. And folks like yourself who sacrificed so much are so important today. So important today so that we can know that just like we have Charlottesville today and Tree of Life today and El Paso today, we had Jackson, we had Mims, we had Money, Mississippi years ago, and folks like you show us the way through your bravery and your courage. So thank you, ma'am, and God bless you.
Thank you very much. I do want to acknowledge my family that's here. My sister, Sandra, who fed me when I was in law school, because even though Henry Joyner could afford it, he told me if I wanted to be a lawyer, it was on me. He had sent me to college. He said, it's time to invest in yourself. You want to go, then you pay for it. And so, of course, my sister was always there to help me. And my niece, Katrina, and my sister, Donna Kaysen, they have always been very supportive, and I'm happy to have them here with me this morning to share this moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Do you want to come up for a photo? Good idea. like to invite our friends from the Planning Commission to please come up. And before we do that, there's something I forgot to mention. And I apologize. Before we do that on January 6th, for everybody watching, there's going to be an event to honor Senator Joyner for the 50th anniversary of her Florida bar admission. It's going to be at Pepin, so if anybody has any questions on that, please email my office for admission and tickets. It's going to be a really great event, so there you go. It is my great pleasure here today to present to our good friends in the Planning Commission a Tampa City Council commendation for their 60th anniversary. Here we have Miss Melissa Zornita, who will be, I believe, accepting on behalf of our friends in the Planning Commission. Mr. Tony Garcia, who's here, David Hay, Jennifer Malone, Danny Collins, and Jared McAdoo, who are here. You know, we really, really rely in Tampa City Council, or we should rely, so to speak, on the wonderful guidance of our good friends in the Planning Commission. These are wonderful professionals who dedicate themselves to a profession that is all about planning, all about making sure that the future is cared for whenever it comes to our land. Something that may not sound sexy immediately, but it sure as heck if you want to build a really, really good quality city. And I can tell you that so many of the people here in the Hillsborough County Planning Commission have been of benefit to all of us personally. How many times have one of us had a question on Tampa City Council about a pivotal issue involving development, involving transportation, et cetera? Joe's raising his hand. I should raise all my hands, and gone up to somebody in the Planning Commission. I should keep this man right here on retainer, I swear to God. So that's what we honor them for their professionalism, for their friendship in public service. They really, really are partners here in public service with us here in the city of Tampa and in Hillsborough County. So that is why it is my great pleasure to present to our good friends at the Hillsborough County Planning Commission a Tampa City Council commendation for their 60th anniversary. So ma'am, if you'd like to.
Well, thank you very much for this honor. We're very pleased to have been able to serve the city for 60 years. It is our great honor to be able to address your long-range planning needs. We have a fantastic team who I want to thank, who are able to provide that quality service to you all. And we really appreciate your all's support, the support from the City of Tampa staff, who are great partners in making sure that the plan is meeting the needs of the city, ensuring it's maintaining a high quality of life for all of the residents here in the City of Tampa. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, you guys want to get a picture?
Oh. Yeah, Melissa and your team, thank you so much for your hard work. I've worked with you guys for forever. And people may come and go, except for Tony, who's been there all 60 years. But other than that, no, but it's a first-class organization, and you're leading it in exemplary form. But anyway, I just want to thank you for your hard work, and tell your staff that even though we might not agree all the time, that I do appreciate their professionalism and their hard work. Thank you.
Councilman Goods.
Well, Melissa, I want to say, as I met you, you've always been there to answer my questions, and your staff has as well. So I just want to say congratulations on your anniversary.
Councilman Citro, Councilman Charles.
I was speaking to our Mayor, Jane Castor, and finding out ways that we could cut money in the budget, and I suggested that one of the ways is to send you guys home at a decent hour so the electricity bill isn't so high. I thank you for being there when I have questions. I thank you for being there when I need answers. Thank you for all your hard work and dedication.
Councilman Carlson.
Yeah, just thank you for all your help, insights, wisdom, vision, and all the long hours too. Thank you.
All right, anybody else? Congratulations, thank you very much. All right, next up we have item 4, a presentation from Sarah Combs, CEO of the University Area CDC. And I believe there's a PowerPoint. If there is, if you could please be brought up on the screen. If there's one. All right, go ahead.
All right, I believe I have a presentation that can be pulled up on the
There
screen.
it
There
is.
we go.
Yeah,
Oh,
there it is,
perfect.
there it is.
All right, well, good morning, Council. My name is Sarah Combs, and I'm the CEO at the University Area CDC, and I'm so thankful and appreciative for allowing me to talk today about the work that's happening in the University Uptown community. That is my intention today, to talk a little bit about the work that we're doing in the community. For those of you that aren't familiar with the work that we're doing, who we are, we're the University Area CDC, and our mission is to improve the university area community and work with the residents in order to do so. We have a plethora of different programs and services. If we could go to the next slide, that would be great. Is there a clicker maybe I can?
Yeah, if you,
There we go. A number of different programs and services that we're focusing on the community, all of which would take up my 7 minutes if I talked about individually. So I'm just going to highlight that we have cultural arts programming, youth and adult education, health and wellness. We focus on crime and safety, workforce development, affordable housing, as well as self-sufficiency programs, really focusing on transportation, and we do so through a coalition of partners. Our focus area, we have a specific focus area. It's Bears to the north, Bruce B. Downs to the east, Fowler to the south, and 275 to the west. We do serve outside of that area in our secondary boundaries, but this is the area that we are measuring statistical change, trying to create positive impact in the community. It's also important to note this is a redevelopment area by Hillsborough County. We are also able to be successful in getting 5 census tracts that were opportunity zones. So we're excited about that and working towards really creating pipeline projects to be able to fund these type of activities in the community. So with a community that has a terrible name, formerly known as Suitcase City, how do you create positive change in this community? How do you bring this community forward, a community that's been forgotten about for decades to come? We think that we have the solution, we think that we have the answer, and it's through creating our neighborhood transformation strategy, which is a holistic approach to community development. Something that we thought was incredibly important to show how we were going to bring this community forward, not just talking about it, but actually doing the work. We created this plan about 2 years ago, and we've been steadily bringing our partners in to show how they can plug into the plan to create community change. And we're doing this through a clustered approach to community development. With so much blight, so much challenges, how do you show positive changes happening in the community? You start by creating a project that can really be the catalyst for revitalization. And that was what we did. We started in the heart of the community. We had 7 acres that was dedicated and donated to us by Hillsborough County, and we said we're going to build a park. Why a park? Because the community said that's what they wanted. They wanted a place their kids could play. They wanted a place that they could go and meet other neighbors, form those social bonds of connectivity, and start to create a place that is known as a community. So we're excited to say after 4 years of hard work, blood, sweat, and tears, we are opening our Harvest Hope Park today at 3:30, which is very, very exciting. This is a park that has been created by residents, built by residents, and for residents. And this is how we're going to change the community, by starting from the inside out, creating positive change from the heart of the community and then rippling out from there. So this is the information if you're able to attend. It's today at 3:30, right off of Fletcher on 19th and 20th. We hope to see everyone there. We then created a program called Block by Block, where we adopted all the blocks that surround the park and entered into this program where we brought in USF volunteers to meet residents where they are in life and to figure out how do we connect them with services that they need and access them for success, pull them into the programs that we're doing, and create self-sufficiency at a higher level. We also created a University Area Leaders Collective program where we're aggressively and actively training leaders in our community about what's happening and educating them on the topics that are important, to not just speak to councils like yourself, but to also speak to other residents in the community. This work has to be done at the grassroots effort. We have to have the residents to be able to really stand in front of this. We push from behind, but the residents have to lead the way. So with a lot of great opportunity that's happening around us with the Innovation District, a lot of exciting opportunities, and we thank you for your support on that. What happens to this community when new wealth is coming into the community, new development? How do we ensure that this community doesn't get gentrified? How do we ensure that this community doesn't get displaced? We think that one way to do that is to create a community benefits agreement to ensure that the development that is happening in the community, that the residents benefit from that. So we are trying to launch our Uptown Community Benefits Agreement in an effort to ensure that the residents get a say in what happens in this community, that they get jobs, that the infrastructure that is needed is built, that childcare is really put first and foremost. So we're excited to be able to launch this. We have not been able to successfully launch a community benefits program in Hillsborough County. We think this is time to do it. We want to show that this model can work in the university area community, and then it can be used in other areas in this county and in this city to be able to show that we can bring this community forward along the way. We also have a strategy called land banking. We created our Harvest Hope Properties LLC, which is our real estate arm, a couple years ago, because we said, how do we ensure that this community does get to be part of this plan? Well, if you own the land, you get to say what happens to the land. So we started our real estate arm, and then we decided to create a land banking program to aggressively and actively acquire property within a 1-mile radius of the Harvest Hope Park. If we can acquire the property, then we can control what happens with the land and ensure that residents get a say-so to what's happening in their community. And they get to build the community too, which is critically important. So you can see on this map, we have aggressively acquired 20 properties within a 1-mile radius of the Harvest Hope Park, and we have 4 pending. When we acquire a property, we put a big sign up that says Harvest Hope Properties, growing our community 1 block at a time, because we want residents to be excited what's happening. We want them to plug in. We want to say that this is for you. We want to ensure that opportunities are brought to them as well and that they are engaged in what we're doing. So when we acquire a property, we then decide through community conversations and share-outs that we are going to earmark and place a specific housing type on that. Attainable housing is the program that we're working through. One of the things that we've done is we want to think outside the box. And oh, you told me I had 7 minutes. Okay.
Well,
Okay, I have a couple more minutes. And so we created an innovative solutions to housing. We took a modular product, re-engineered it in order to meet the Florida Building Code and pass inspections. We opened these 2 homes last month for single parents in our community. They are able to own their own homes for $800 a month, less than what they're paying for rent. They said this couldn't be done. We did it. We created it. Was it harder than we thought? Absolutely. That's what we have to do. Thank you. We have to look outside of the box and figure out solutions that work for the hardworking people in our community, ensure that we are doing this and figuring out these solutions and then scaling it. This home is built in a factory setting. It takes 2 months to build. So we can have home ownership opportunities for our community in 3 months. And how do you build the equity in this community? Through home ownership. We want to give these individuals an opportunity to have the American dream. We're also working with Habitat for Humanity. We've acquired 5 lots across the street from our park that we're building. We subdivided that into 2 lots. We have 10 lots now. We're building 10 homes across the street for residents in our community to be homeowners. In this community, we have less than 10% home ownership rate. In order to stabilize the community, we have to invest in the residents who live there, and giving them opportunities for home ownership is the only way to go. We also have to look at other opportunities in our community. So we're building University Park townhomes across the street from our park. We've acquired 5 lots, and we're doing mixed income housing as home ownership opportunities. So it can't just be segregated low-income housing. It has to be housing that we create in all different styles for all different income earners, and we're bringing everyone together in an inclusive and equitable way, and we think it can be done. We're also building 118 multifamily units on 12th and Fletcher through a low-income housing tax credit deal. And on the bottom floor of that will be 2,500 square feet of our Invest Workforce program, where we're, again, finding the residents who need gainful employment. We're certifying them and training them and getting them employed in less than 8 weeks. And then, most importantly, we're working with the anchor institutions around our community and creating MOUs to be able to then create a pipeline for employment. We find a resident, we give them the skills they need, We get them employed with our anchor institutions in 8 weeks, and then we stay with them. We stay with them in layer certifications. We get them to continue to get better paying jobs, and we work with them. We make sure that we're getting them jobs in their communities that they live in, so transportations aren't barriers. We're working with childcare, so those aren't barriers. But we really need to look outside of the box, and how do we make residents in our community be successful? And then we create the programs around those needs of our residents. We're also creating Safer is Stronger, which is a council we've created. We created a community safety action plan, which focuses on programs, built environment, and strategic communications. Through that, we've created committees that we're actively and aggressively working to talk about things like behavioral health, obviously land, how do we clean up the community, and then also making sure that we're also tying in the partners that surround us and plugging them in. This Safer is Stronger Council is critically important to the growth and development of our area. We've also did a study, a walkability study, to show that there's some infrastructure problems in our community. Very little sidewalks, very little lighting. I don't know if you knew, but a lot of the area is on well water and has no sewer. This is happening right here outside of our anchor institutions, pocket between these great different communities of wealth. We have these conditions here, and it's not the county. Unfortunately, it is the city, so that's one of my asks, is to be able to work with someone to figure out how we improve this infrastructure, because it's city water and city sewer. And so trying to say, as we build this community, we want to ensure that we're building it for future home development and the community that we all want to be in. We're also working to create sidewalks, so we want to build sidewalks from Moore Elementary to the park we're opening today, back to the community center and back out to Fletcher. And not just saying, hey, going with a handout saying we've already secured grants. We've secured $1 million in funding to be able to build these sidewalks, and we need a little help just to make the connectivity points happen. So it's so incredibly important that we don't put our kids in danger, that they have a safe place to walk to and from school, to amenities like this park we're building, the first private park that we have seen ever built in this community. We also have a partners coalition of over 225 members that meet on a quarterly basis to talk about this community. How do we plug in and create opportunities and positive change for the residents who live here? And most importantly, we do this with the dollars in mind. 91 cents of every dollar that we raise or we earn goes back into the community. So we're well stewards of our funding, and then these are our agents of change who make it happen on a daily basis. It's more than a job if you work at the UACDC. It's your passion, it's your calling, because we have to be aggressive in the nature of the work that we're doing, because this community doesn't have a lot of time for us just to sit back. We have to be aggressive, and we're showing that we can make it happen in the university area community.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Sarah, I wasn't here when you began, and I just want to say, the reason that we invited you here was because of all the work that you guys do in the community. I mean, y'all really do what I call a Marshall Plan for social justice in the community. And I, use my words carefully, Marshall Plan. A big, widespread plan for an area that needs economic help right now. Mm-hmm. And then social justice. The idea that the basic necessities of life, health care, housing, a good job, things like that ought to be with people in a prosperous country as a right of living. That's what y'all fight for. And just briefly, because I know we want to get to public comment, with the USF area and with the North Tampa redevelopment, whatever you want to call it that we're talking about, y'all have been a huge player in that. And when the dialogue and the meetings that we've been going through are going to be finished, I think the end product that this body's going to get to vote on and the county commission's going to get to vote on is going to be a game changer for this area. And like you said, it's not going to be about, moving folks out and moving other folks in. It's going to be about using that human capital in that area to improve all the area, to create that tide that's going to lift all boats. And y'all are at the forefront. So thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Anyone else? Councilman Goods and Dingfeld.
Well, I can tell you, Ms. Combs, you're doing one heck of a job. Some of the things you talked about in your presentation, I've been talking about on this board, community business ordinance agreements. Hopefully staff is listening, and hopefully that we'll get that back and get some good feedback on that in January when that comes back. So I like what you're doing as it relates to that, because that's well needed. Mm-hmm. You talked about the assets, owning the property. I've talked about that too. We have to learn the land bank and get those and buy those assets to contain what we have. And I talk about a lot of rehab as well, because you talk about gentrification, if we can get in there and rehab and restore what we have, it doesn't go away. It stays right in that community. So I like what you're doing. Hopefully we can have some more dialogue and work with our folks to bring some of these plans to where you're at, because I think it's well needed. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Dingfelder. Anyone?
Sir, good morning. Before I comment on your great work, I want to give a shout out to Senator and County Commissioner Christ, who, as far as I recall, 20 years ago or so, got this whole thing started. He saw the need, and a very, very nonpartisan effort, got this going. And you and your team, your amazing team, have picked up the ball and just run with it and so effectively. I've heard you speak now a few times, and every time you just motivate the heck out of me too. And we appreciate all your hard work, and anything we can do, let us know.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Councilman, and good job in mentioning Senator Chris, by the way. That was very appropriate. Thank you, sir. Councilman Carlson.
Thanks for all you're doing and for all your colleagues and donors and everyone. This is the kind of community building and grassroots building that I've been talking about that we need instead of subsidizing out-of-state companies that want to move here for lower taxes. If anybody who's been watching me rail on economic development and CRAs and the EDC, this is the kind of thing that I think we need. If you look at the data, which I presented a month or so ago, the biggest issues that we're facing in the city are poverty, income disparity, and low level of affordable housing. And 10% is even lower than the 42% that's really, really bad citywide. So I think we ought to find more ways to rally community support for this and your programs and make sure that we're doing this throughout the city where there are areas like this. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, ma'am, and I'll see you at about 3:30.
Sounds good. Thank
More or less. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Well earned. Okay, now we move to public comment. Before we move to public comment, if everybody who is here to speak publicly could please raise your hand so we can get an idea of how many people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. We're gonna have to move briskly. Okay, what I'm gonna ask folks to do is number one, if you are gonna speak on an item in the agenda, you're gonna be going first. If you could cite that item in the agenda. Number two is you have 3 minutes. If you want to use less than 3 minutes, that would be appreciated. But you're not prohibited, obviously, from doing so. So go ahead. We begin.
I want to hear your comment. Thank you. That poor sister got away from him so quick, I wanted to get one of her cards because she talked with a lot of knowledgeable, and I appreciate her very much, and I think a lot of others want to get her card too because she right on time. My name is Pastor Frank Williams, and I'm at Paradise Missionary Baptist Church at East Scott Street. I come here week after week trying to stand up for people's justice, just like the young lady just a while ago was talking. I appreciate her so much, and I hope she put Connie Burden on her team, because she's been speaking about this for a long time. You know what? It's so sad that certain people don't get no justice here in the city of Tampa, Hillsborough County. Now, I was reading this paper. I didn't really want to talk about this. This paper here is called the Florida Sentinel. Millions to be sent to 34th Street roundabout. We don't need no roundabout. What we need roundabout for? We need some affordable houses there. And here we talking about roundabout. And listen to what the mayor say. Judy Cassidy say 34th Street roundabout will happen. We don't want it to happen. Ain't nothing wrong with 34th Street as it is. What you need to do, put these roundabout where these red lights are. They done got me about 3 times talking about I done ran a red light. I ain't ran no, I'm gonna be honest with you, I ain't ran no damn red light. But they say I run a red light, and then they take you downtown and ticket you. And police stopped me and said, do you know your license been suspended? I said, no, I ain't know my license been suspended. He said, well, you done run 3 red lights. 3 red lights? When did I run them? Good God Almighty. That's taking advantage of people. And so he took my license and my tag off the car. And you know what else he told me? Now you're on your own. Oh, ain't that something, the way they treat people? And he only treated me like that because I'm a man of color. He wouldn't treat no white woman like that. There's so much injustice going on here in the United States. And I would like to get each one of y'all a card. I would invite you all to my church and see what they're doing around at the front of the church. They come over there across the street smoking and all that, throwing their cigarette live buttons right there in the field there to burn up my church and everything. Why don't they smoke over there where they paying their rent at? It's so sad the way we have to come down here and argue time and time again, and we still don't get no justice. But it's so sad. I'm a preacher. I preach righteousness. I preach the truth. And that's what I'm going to do till I go to the graveyard.
Thank you
Whether
very much,
y'all
sir.
like it or not. Don't worry, I'm getting out from here, man.
Thank you, sir. Next, please.
Not Tampa, Florida. Want to send a shout out to David Strauss because at least before he died, he mentioned something about the bicycle stops and some of the other injustices that's taking place back down in the hood. So that was a courageous act of him and made a run for it to bring that to light. And we feel that these people here that's sitting here right now, that supposedly are liberal in scope and in nature, they have to pick up some of these issues in the way it affect the African community. One of the things that's just being talked about is a roundabout. Nobody asked for a roundabout. Somebody made a magic word and mentioned the Jackson House, and they got $1 million going to it. Just like that. And it's a lot of black people living in hotels every day, every night. Some days and some nights, because many days and many nights they can't afford it. And all that's the injustices that's taking place here. But the one thing that's going on in that experience on a daily basis is the inhumanity of white people. The inhumanity of white people. And they try to call us thugs and drug dealers and pimps and whores and prostitutes, and they have all kind of welfare cheats and deadbeat dads and all kind of stereotypical racially offensive names they have for us. But they're really, really inhumane. And I experience it on a daily basis because I'm out there in the streets on a daily basis. And I want to send a special shout out to big brothers and big sisters and Aetna Insurance that put water hoses on us for standing on a public sidewalk. And we have the video to prove it. That's the inhumanity of white people and what they do to us and how they treat us. Very inhumane. This city council have a duty and responsibility based on what they said they was going to do for the African community, based on what they said they was going to do for African people, based on their smiles and their handshakes and their promises. It's time we see our community get uplifted in a certain way that's viable to us as African people, not to someone else who have their dreams and vision, but it's pimping us all the way through, and that's going on for years and years. African people have to organize in this city for reparations, 600 years, $600 trillion, and we have to organize for the first time in the history of the NFL. We have to organize to stop that Super Bowl from coming to Raymond James Stadium. We have to organize to make a real valiant effort to stop it from coming to Raymond James Stadium. It's no way we have to come down here and beg y'all week after week. We're not from a begging race, and our ancestors weren't beggars, we're fighters.
Thank you very much, sir. Next, please.
Good morning, council members. I am Fran Tate, and I reside at 3405 Clay Street, Tampa, 33605, District 5. I am the president of Jackson Heights Neighborhood Association and Crime Watch. Thank you for your time this morning. Paul writes in 1 Corinthians 14:33, God is not the author of confusion, disorder, but of peace in meetings of his people. We, Jackson Heights, come in peace. I am here today with association members who are tax-paying homeowners in Jackson Heights. Each of our street addresses parallel or intersect with North 34th Street in our neighborhood. 2 years ago, in partnership with Keep Tampa Bay Beautiful, we adopted North 34th Street in our neighborhood, from East Dr. Martin Luther King Boulevard to Columbus Drive. In collaboration with the residents of East Tampa, East Hillsborough Crime Watch, Advocates for Humanity, College Hill Neighborhood Association, Rainbow Heights Neighborhood Association, the Tampa Police Department, and Solid Waste, we proudly beautify our street, North 34th, quarterly in our neighborhood. We offer community service hours to all students who participate. We are a 501c3. We adopted Potter Elementary School in our neighborhood and will be leaving this meeting shortly to participate in the Great American Teach-In. We are the recipients of numerous awards in our area, to include Outstanding Neighborhood Watch of District 3, as well as Hillsborough County Neighborhood Improvement Award for our community efforts in our neighborhood. We also are recipients of numerous grants, to include Hillsborough County Neighborhood Grant, and recently the Wells Fargo Bank Neighborhood Beautification Grant in our neighborhood. For more than 2 years, we have been hearing about roundabouts, street widening, sidewalks, bicycle lanes, and LED street lights on North 34th Street in our neighborhood. We'd like to say and go on record as Jackson Heights Neighborhood Association and Crime Watch, we are in full support of the North 34th Street roundabouts. We will use the $7,500 Wells Fargo grant to beautify all 3 roundabouts in our neighborhood that we love so dearly. Our partners in this effort will include Keep Tampa Bay Beautiful, Rainbow Heights Neighborhood Association, and East Hillsborough Crime Watch. Modernization is a must in our neighborhood. We adjusted to the 40th Street roundabouts. We can do the same for North 34th Street. TPD will gladly assist us with the rules of this roundabout. Please vote yes.
Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate it. And Brandon, if you could let staff know, we'll do 10:45 so that we don't have to make folks wait. Go ahead, next, please. Thank you, ma'am.
Good morning. My name is Angel D'Angelo, and I was born here in Tampa. I'm here to speak about issue 88, but before I do so, I must bring up the fact that the City Council on November 7th passed a resolution or ordinance or whatever to appropriate $150,000+ into police drones. Now, last year we did a survey, and no one in the community asked for police drones. The empowerment of Mayor Jane Castor, who has a very racist and classist history, to be in control of drones that do not prohibit biometric, aka facial recognition searching, is unacceptable. But what's done is done. Issue 88 is a way we can somewhat redeem ourselves as a council. We are only as good as the legacy we leave in our lives. As a city council, I am happy to see that there's a resolution to discourage private prison usage in the city through vendors or through direct hire. However, I wish the resolution said prohibit. We really need to start taking stronger stances. City of Tampa claims to be the up-and-coming progressive place, but we do not show that to the most vulnerable in our communities. We have to go out of our way to undo the legacy that has been in this city and in this country and in this state. We still have a very disparate treatment. In this city, only 24% or so of the population is black, but they make up 54% of all arrests by Tampa Police Department. And that is by design. Mayor Jane Castor contributed to that, and you want to empower her with drones. The least we can do is make sure the people that she and Police Chief Brian Dugan are throwing in there are not contracted to work for free for the city in modern-day slavery. So while I want you to pass issue 88, thank you, Vieira, for introducing it, I would like you to make it stronger to prohibit, and I'd like you to really think harder about the things you spend our money on. When you're spending money of that amount to a police department, the community should have been surveyed. There should have been more attempts to reach to the community. I don't know why our community review board, and those are air quotes, I don't know why they requested that survey last year if you're not going to implement the things on the survey that we as a community, all collectively, of all demographics, white, black, poor, rich, all agreed needed. We need community bias training. We need well-regulated body cameras with no facial recognition searching. We need use of force policies to change. I witnessed a horrible act of violence on 7th Avenue with a mentally ill black man who was brutalized by your police department on August 7th. I won't say his name because he doesn't deserve to be thrown out like that. He was mentally ill. He needed compassion and healing, and your police officers tased him twice, arrested him, took him to jail, and now he's facing 3 felony charges for the crime of being mentally ill and black in the city of Tampa. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I would ask, please, no speaking from the audience, please. Next, please. Go ahead, ma'am.
My name's Diana Shanks. I'm a Tampa resident. I'm here to speak in support of Agenda Item 88, the resolution to end city contracts with companies that use prison labor. In the shining promise of freedom that was the 13th Amendment, a sharp exception was carved out. Section 1 of the amendment provides neither slavery nor involuntary servitude, except as punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. Simply put, incarcerated people have no constitutional rights in this area. They can be forced to work as punishment for their crimes, and they cannot access workers' rights or labor laws. It's a cruel dichotomy that people who will struggle to find work after incarceration because of the stigma associated with imprisonment are also having their labor exploited while they're behind bars. This injustice disproportionately affects people of color and poor communities, which from today so far it sounds like ought to be top priority for this council. I appreciate the council bringing forward this resolution. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, please. Go ahead.
Thank you, sweetheart. God bless. God bless.
Good morning, council members. My name is Zulima Ramos. I'm here as a Tampa resident and a graduate of the University of Tampa, and here also to support agenda item number 88 and to seek to make it much stronger and completely prohibit local governments from contracting with companies who use prison labor. We should be trying to reduce the number of people that we put in cages by actually rehabilitating our community and by establishing policies that focus less on incarceration and more on addressing the actual problems that cause crime and incarceration, which is directly linked to poverty by studies that have been done internationally for decades. On top of all of this, what we need to be putting money into in this city is equitable, accessible education. Is green jobs, is green accessible public transit so that people can actually get to them. And we need clean water, especially for communities of color and low-income communities who get things dumped in our water at much higher rates than the rich folk that live down here in downtown. So we need, the issue with the prison industry altogether is the only way for it to be sustainable is to arrest more people. And that's not a way to build a city. That doesn't reduce crime, that just separates families, traumatizes the people put in cages, and ill-prepares them to be released. Abuse, overcrowding, violence, sexual assault, and disgusting, inhumane conditions are many of the problems that are common in prisons. There have been stories of no working toilets, rats running rampant with underfed people in dirty cells. And I sincerely ask, how will that rehabilitate anyone? And how will that contribute to our community? What we need is basic rights. We don't need any more cages. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Next, please. And I want to make sure, anybody who's planning on speaking today who's not up, standing up, is there anybody? Okay, y'all, anybody else? 2, okay, so, okay, go ahead, ma'am.
Good morning. I'm Geraldine Rogers Toombs. I have concerns about the safety of the children in East Tampa when it comes to adding the newly proposed roundabouts on 34th Street. In all my research, I didn't find any roundabouts located in close proximity to elementary schools. Did the City of Tampa Transportation Department consult with the Hillsborough County School District, or the city's Parks and Recreation Department, or the MPO Advisory Board about the locations in question? The proposed roundabouts for 34th Street are in residential areas with elementary schools, parks, and churches. Potter Elementary School, Potter Head Start Program, East Tampa Academy Charter School, Fair Oaks Park, Jackson Heights NFL Yacht Center, Al Barnes Park, and 34th Street Church of God. These places, some of them are directly adjacent to a park and a church. Tampa has a long-standing reputation as one of the most dangerous areas for pedestrian and cyclists in the country. The City of Tampa's Imagine 2040 comprehensive plan goal is to reduce the high incidence of those type accidents. Why put children, other pedestrians, and bicyclists in a dangerous position? Your plan to install roundabouts near parks and schools with high concentration of children appears to conflict with the city's goals to create a safer educational and recreational environment. Safety should be the number one concern for all citizens, especially the vulnerable ones. An article in the Florida Sentinel states, the mayor planned to move forward with the 34th Street roundabout project. Why should the City of Tampa elected officials modify the 34th Street roundabout project? The city's transportation department recommendation does not promote a pedestrian-friendly environment. Potential conflicts between pedestrians and motor vehicles should be minimized. You have your comprehensive plan you need to review. If safety is the main concern for installing roundabouts on 34th Street, perhaps you should consider Hillsborough Avenue and Martin Luther King Boulevard, intersections that have a higher volume of traffic. Probably more accidents and roundabouts would be better suited for those locations. The main goal of roundabouts are to better control traffic flow and to reduce the number of serious motor vehicle accidents. However, the goal should be to create safe streets for pedestrians, bicyclists, as well as motorists. The 34th Street plan doesn't give enough consideration to the safety and well-being of pedestrians, nor provide safe and walkable communities according to the city's comprehensive plan.
Ma'am, you need 5 more seconds?
She's giving me her 3 minutes.
Is that allowed?
Yes.
Council, under your rules, it only applies to public hearings. This is public comment, so it's frankly, it's 3 minutes unless you waive your rules.
I'll give you 2 minutes.
You'll give me 2 minutes? Thank you. That's all I need. Thank you so much.
Go ahead, ma'am.
The goal should be to make life less challenging and safe according to the city's Imagine 2040 comprehensive plan. Quote, open space is a key component for a high quality of life in an urban environment. Changes should negatively interfere with educational and recreational activities. Roundabouts create uncomfortable pedestrian and bicyclist environment and are not pedestrian or bicyclist friendly. Community concerns were overlooked, which violates the city's Imagine 2040 comprehensive plan to collaborate with the community and plan in the future. This isn't the first time concerns have been expressed. Your government policy number 1.1.3 states decisions should be consistent with adopted comprehensive plan. The road construction project for 34th Street is overdue. However, the plan for roundabouts on 34th Street near elementary schools and parks creates a great safety concern. It is absolutely absurd to put a roundabout directly next to a church and a park. Nothing appears to be sacred in today's society. I worked for a governmental municipality for 36 years. Neither staff nor administration or public officials always made the right decision. What professional engineer would recommend a roundabout in close proximity or adjacent to a park or schools? That's similar to a physician performing non-emergency surgery on a frail and vulnerable elderly patient. That's called malpractice. In conclusion, there is no reason for anyone to take a dogmatic approach to this issue when we all want what's best for the community. Plan designs can be modified or adjusted if deemed necessary. We all win when things are done right. And basically, that's all I'm here to talk about is safety. And I hope that is taken into consideration. You've had 2 people that you recognize highly talking about the safety and well-being of children.
We appreciate
and
your
I
words.
thank you.
Thank you,
And I sent
Next,
each one,
please.
one
Thank
other point. I sent each one of you an email. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Next, please.
Good morning. My name is Carol Ransom. I'm a citizen here in the city of Tampa. More importantly, I'm here this morning to talk about the plan from the University Area CDC, Ms. Sarah laid out for us this morning. I cannot tell you how really grateful we are to hear that comprehensive plan put into action. Those are the same things that the citizens from District 5, East Tampa, have been talking about. She mentioned the Community Redevelopment Act, where new developers coming into the community will have to go through that liaison. We brought this point up in the mayor's transitional meeting, heard nothing else about it. She mentioned the modular homes with the estimated rent or income level at $800 per month, leading to home ownership.
Ma'am, let's turn off. Please, everybody, whenever people are speaking, do not speak, clap, or snap. Thank you. Ma'am, go ahead.
So thank you. So she talked about those ideas. We brought that to the council. We went through the proper channels, which was addressed as the CRA meetings. We haven't got any results from that. She talked about putting in parks, land trusts, banking the land in those communities, that agency taking possession of the land and helping the citizens in that. She talked about the door-to-door, the walkability plan, going to the individual homes, knocking on doors, finding out what people need. We thought this was the idea of the CRA. We were under the impression that this is what we were supposed to do at the CRA meeting. Perhaps there was some confusion about it. So my request today is to ask for the notes or the minutes from the training, the workshop you guys presented on the CRA. For reasons of a previous engagement, I was not able to be here, was not able to get that information. I'd like to request it because I'm pretty sure that my CRA is doing some top-down benefit, whereas we, as the people that live in this community, would like to see the bottom up. So if it's any way possible, we'd like to have those notes. Another thing I wanted to mention coming up here, we don't want to have to come here and talk about the marijuana processing plan in our community. We don't want to have to come here and talk about 34 retention ponds. We don't want to have to come here and talk about putting a roundabout where the Florida Highway Patrol does not validate fatalities happening in these particular intersections, would require $300,000 worth of road work to put in roundabouts where they are absolutely not needed. My grandmother used to say, common sense ain't so common. That was her thing. So what we ask you as a sitting board, even if you don't look at anything but the cost effectiveness, we still got blue tarps on our roofs. We got people who are living in a motel, $60 a night, don't know what they're gonna do to get the next $60 to keep their family covered while it's cold outside. We have issues in our community that take a priority over what it is that we're here today, roundabouts. So if this is a police strategy, we think that the police department should
Thank you very much, ma'am. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Ma'am. Next, please.
God bless you. Good morning. My name is Sonia Martinez. I am president of Dominican Association of Tampa. We are a no-profit association, and he is our vice president, Mr. John Mercedes.
Hi, good morning. My name is John Mercedes. I'm vice president of the Dominican Association of Tampa. I know that you guys are all talking about some serious topic here, and don't mean any disrespect to any of you members. We are an association. We're a 501c6. Our association is based usually about volunteers. We volunteer in the community, and we try to help minorities, Hispanics, to try to get some involvement in the community and get their voices heard, and help the Hispanic community in any way possible that we can, either by assisting them on helping them obtain help when it comes to public service programs, and we try to assist them in any way possible. But on another topic, we would like to mention the very important thing that our association is trying to do. Our funds, we don't get any public assistance. We don't get any tax dollars. We don't get any grants. We strictly are based on local support from business owners and events that we usually conduct in the community to try to help our association and also to bring awareness to different communities in our organization. Not only Dominicans, Cubans, Venezuelans. That's some of the things that we try to do as an association. And then as an association also, we try to do scholarships. We get all the funds that we have in our association coffers, and we try to provide scholarships to low-income Hispanics that need the dollars for their children to maybe afford books or maybe afford college tuition. That's our association. Even though we're small, we're trying to obtain and use our funds in the best way possible. What we have recently are coming here to bring awareness of a travel situation. Usually, the city of Tampa and a lot of residents, when they have to travel abroad or to the Caribbean, they try to go to either Orlando or Miami. And we're just trying to bring awareness as an association that we're trying to bring the community to understand is that these are dollars that the airport is losing because a lot of business is going either to Orlando or to Miami to try to take flights to either Dominican Republic or Punta Cana. And that's one of the topics that we want to address to the council here is that we could help by hopefully promoting direct flights to Dominican Republic because why? That's going to help keep jobs in the airport and help the community itself. And that's the reason that we're here as a Tampa Association, Dominican Association.
Thank you, guys. And what I would ask, and we spoke before, if you want to get with my legislative assistant, Brandon, we can set up a meeting to talk. I'd love to talk with y'all. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Councilman Carlson.
Yeah, and
Muy rápido.
I've been very involved in the international. I've been very involved in the international flight area too. So, if you, Brandon, you can take my card too. Feel free to contact me. I'm happy to put you in touch with the airport.
Yep.
All right, sir.
You can meet with us at separate times on the same day.
Okay.
Thank you, folks. Next, please. Gracias. Thank you.
Good morning, Connie Burton. If you read the Constitution of the United States and then you read down into the 13th Amendment, consistent to what we see going on in this city, it's clear to me that in order to keep a system propped up financially, you have to have a slave class. You have to have a group of people that essentially have no power over their lives and their community. And coming down here consistently every week, we're finding ourselves, whether people want to believe it or not, we are that group. We are that group because we keep appealing to you in the same way that beautiful Sarah stood up here and gave a beautiful presentation. I said, damn, the only thing I must be missing two things. Changing race and maybe putting it on the prompt because we are saying the same thing. But what we get constantly is the pushback that it can't get done or the division and dividing our community by saying 2 here and 3 there. So I say with your own eyes you can see. As you hold up Sister Athenia Jordaner, and as a child, I remember that woman and her fine stories of resistance that even when it's not popular to do, we have a responsibility to do. That's right. Even when those in our community think they have reached a certain prominence, will not stand on the side of the people. We have to keep on advocating what? For affordable housing for our community. I didn't hear Sarah talk about no land grab. I didn't hear her mention anything about developers coming in there and outpricing the housing that people can't reach it. One thing that Charlie Miranda says all the time, I try to pay attention when he's telling his stories, because he always talk about once upon a time, and I appreciate it. But what I've come to understand that maybe people don't have the moral courage to do the right thing. It's in you. You know it's supposed to be done. But you can't jump over that hurdle because politically it might mean something. When you're campaigning again. I hear Mr. Vieira talk about our history, and you quote it well. But outside quoting, let's make a mark today. That's right. That we could do the right thing. Right. The community is saying that we have too many of our children that is missing parents because they're incarcerated. We got a marijuana dispensary right down the road. You can't do anything about that. 2020 is going to bring about a new day. I think I've talked, they said if you continue to do the same thing, you got to be crazy. I won't be delivering no more in 2020 until we see results in this chamber. But on the ground, we plan on having an aggressive campaign so we can meet the NFL when they get here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, please.
Good morning. I'm Bishop Michelle B. Patty. I would like to first go on record stating that item number 84 that you're going to talk about later, it's just a farce. The mayor has spoken. The deal is done. It's over with. And for you all to bring the citizen here, for us to cry out to you, is really reprehensible. I also like to state that you all know that the point of order should be housing first. Why have a roundabout? Just because people who look like me has nice homes, don't know what it is to be without the meal. What about the homeless people? If we could spend millions of dollars on a roundabout, surely we can do, as Sarah say, put some affordable homes here in this area. $800 to own your own home, wouldn't that be wonderful? Look what you can do. Then you could come about and do your roundabout. But let's do people first. People need to be put in homes. People need to have homes. They need to have safety. But I also want to go on record as asking, who have the city paid for the property that is on that roundabout? I want to know who they paid, how much they paid, and when they paid it. Because if we follow the money, we can see why silence from upper class people is not being heard here in this chamber. So we need to know, I want to follow the dollar. I want to know what took place, how it took place, and when it took place. Because what's going on now, it's just sad. We're looking at going to the Super Bowl, having people come here, and you don't even have a place for people to live. But we're talking about, I don't care what the citizens say, 3 million, 4 million, whatever the $1 million is, it does not matter. You're going to do your roundabout. So stop playing with people's emotions. We know that is going to be done. So why are we here? Why is it on the agenda? Why are you playing with people when you know that you now have no power to do anything? You have no power. The mayor has spoken. The queen say it would be done. And then she had her married women to come in here and pat on the back saying they got some awards. And this is why they're supporting it. But ask them how many nights they don't have a roof over their head. Ask them how many nights that they don't have a car to ride in. Ask them if they miss a meal. The answer I can tell you already. They eat well, they drive lovely, and they don't have a problem. But I'm going to do as the senator has said. We're going to speak out whether you care about it or not, whether you listen at us or not. There will be those of us that's going to speak out. And Councilman Carson, I thank you every day. I applaud you every day for being that voice, no matter what your other colleagues, whether they vote or not. You've been saying what we've been saying, and we can get it done. They have millions in the CRA.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, please. And again, please, no clapping or speaking during comment. Please. Thank you. Go ahead,
Good
ma'am.
morning, Council. My name is Regina Virgil, and I'm right now a coordinator for East Hillsborough Heights Crime Watch group in the area. My grid is 40th Street, Hillsborough, Osborne, and North 30th, but 34th Street lies in the center of that grid. I am bouncing off what Fran Tate said this morning. I'm in full support of the roundabouts. When the city and the FDOT contacted my organization regarding the roundabouts on 40th and North 34th Street, I had meetings. I gave notification to the residents that fall in that grid. I always say that when the city and the county, whoever it is, when they asked us to come to the table, they're asking us to come to the table for a reason. They want our input. So that was 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I had DOT at my meetings and the city. So at that time, they showed us the potential, what it was going to be like, and what it will look like after the project is done. So my take is we're in full support of that project. You have my okay, go ahead with it. We need the softening because there's too many speeders. I've already hit Tampa Police Department. I'm so tired of the frustrated residents in the area calling me up all times of the day when I'm on vacation, when I'm trying to enjoy my time, to do something about the speeding. As recently as this morning, I'm getting texts now. I'm tired of it. Runabouts work. I want them. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, please, no statements from the audience, please. Thank you. Next, please.
Good morning. I'm here to be an advocate today for
And if I
babies
may,
in the
sir,
womb.
your name, please?
My name is Chris.
Thank you, sir.
I'm a resident of Tampa. I'm here to
And I'm sorry, Chris, your last name.
Selman.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. I'm here today to be an advocate for babies in the womb here in the city of Tampa. I would like to speak the truth in love, and the truth is that abortion is the murder of another human being. It is not the termination of a potential life. It is not the removal of tissue or the removal of a clump of cells. It is the killing of an innocent human being. The belief that laid the foundation for American slavery and the Jewish Holocaust of World War II is the same belief that allowed the reprehensible ruling of Roe v. Wade, and that is the belief that one life is more valuable than another. Today's culture says that babies in the womb are not considered human, even though this defies our God-given conscience and biological science. As a result, hundreds of thousands of innocent babies across this nation every year are murdered, ripped out of their mother's womb, and discarded like everyday trash. We must stand against the Supreme Court's ruling and uphold the clear and obvious truth that fully human life begins at conception, is equally valuable, and deserves the same rights as any other human being. Terms like a zygote, embryo, fetus, infant, child, adolescent, adult, all these terms refer to a human just at a different stage of development. Although the physical characteristics and the level of dependency may be different at each stage of development, at no stage is a life less human or less valuable. There must be a call for the immoral killing of innocent life to cease, and there is no reason why it can't start with our city leaders. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Next, please.
Good morning. My name is Noreen Copeland-Miller, and I live in Southeast Seminole Heights. And I'm here this morning to speak on behalf of the roundabouts. I do not think that roundabouts is a good idea, and I do not support the roundabouts. I look at the roundabout as you're entering 22nd Street where it says 1911. On 22nd, that roundabout goes around and go back to all those new houses that they're building that we won't be able to afford. And I just think that it's very dangerous. A number of people have gotten hit on 40th Street. My thing is this. I know we have 75 retention ponds in East Tampa. So are we trying to put 75 roundabouts in East Tampa? I challenge you to tell me one community in the city that has roundabouts in it. Okay. And I love what Sarah presented this morning from CDC. I was home watching that, and it just encouraged me to get up, get dressed, and come down and say we could do that in our community. I thought we were supposed to be doing that, engaging the community. The community is not being heard. We had to keep talking and saying no, no, no about Flora Brasker. Finally heard that. So we're looking at other communities. We're comparing. We're looking at the models out there. And for the life of me, I can't find in the inner city roundabouts. But in East Tampa, it's about 10 at least already going up. I know on 40th Street, it's very dangerous down there. People have gotten killed on the roundabouts. And then we look at 34th and Lake. Can you imagine all the kids in that area? And then we talking about Osborne and 34th. First of all, 34th needs so much work done to the road, the street, the potholes. And then as someone was saying about the speeders, I live on Chelsea. You want to see speed? Come down Chelsea, you think you're on a major highway. You think like it's MLK. They speed all day long, but guess what? We don't have roundabouts. And as long as I pay my taxes in Southeast Seminole Heights, we will not have roundabouts. And what I ask this council, please do not put any more roundabouts in East Tampa. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate it. Next, please. And if I'm correct, after this gentlelady, this gentleman is the last speaker. Is that correct? No one else? Okay, just making sure. Go ahead, ma'am.
Good morning, City Council. My name is Verlene Drayton. I'm going to go back to Sarah Combs. I've been coming here for some months now. Today, Sarah Combs said everything that I've been asking for, everything I know we need in our community, and a roundabout is not it. A roundabout is not our priority, and I stand in opposition of that roundabout. Now today, with this roundabout and standing in opposition of it, and with affordable housing, because we're going to mix it all up, because that's what Sarah came here talking about. My living conditions, and it says the government has the obligation to guarantee that I and my people have security, peace, and dignity. Well, today, this is what security looks like: mask, double ear infection. Peace, there is no peace. So I want to know here today, what part of this government here is in support of this affordable housing, better living conditions? Because a roundabout does not provide that for me and my people. Now again, Sarah mentioned $800 a month rent for a home. I can afford that. And I wouldn't have this look today. I wouldn't have these elements today. I beg you, please, please. They say don't come down here begging, but I got to beg. Because there's some of my people who can't get down here and beg you too. So I'm going to keep begging you. I'm going to keep begging you. And I'm going to keep coming down here asking. A roundabout is not the suggestion for our community. Fair Oaks need a new building, mold and mildew, cockroaches, dangerous crime. We do not want that in our community. A roundabout does not stop any of that. So we need a change, and a roundabout is not it. A roundabout is not it. A roundabout is not it. A roundabout is not it.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Next, please.
My name is John Mall. I'm a water harvesting homesteader. I've been called a lot of things beside that too. I'm also a minimalist. I just got my recent drinking water bill. And you can see back in November, the history, I was using 7,000 gallons. Then I went down to 4, 2, 1, and I've been zeroed out ever since that. I think some of you also are zeroed out on the drinking water bill. How did I do that? Well, does anybody want to know? Perhaps that's available to other people and they don't have to go to alternate sources of drinking water. If everybody went down to zero from the city, I still have drinking water, but where do I get it from? And I didn't kill all the grass. Anybody curious as to how you can zero out a water bill? Well, if you notice, there's a new charge on there. There's no explanation of it on the back. It's the first time I've seen it. It says, I'm looking, I guess I can look right here. Water charge, water base charge 5/8 inches, 1 meter, $2. What is that? Can anybody tell me? It's not on the back of the, it has information on the back, but it's not listed. So,
Councilman Miranda, sir.
I believe the $2 bill, $2 charge is for everyone that uses the city of Tampa water. That's to upload the cost and have a less debt amount when you finance the replacement of all pipes underground that are needed that hasn't been done in 60, 70, 80, 100 years. And that's what that charge is for.
Do you pay that?
Should be a charge in the pass-through, not the pass-through there, but the charge on lines of reclaimed water that takes the water that we use that is cleaned out either from the toilet, from the sink, or any other place that goes to the Howard Current plant. If they'd have done this 20 years ago, as I suggested, it would have had over a few $100 million to do it right, but it took me 25 years to get it done. Here we are. You don't have to find this front-loaded, like 60-some% front-loaded, and the rest of it will have to be bonded out when the time arrives.
Is the city going to take out a loan to do all this infrastructure, maybe?
The city will have a loan of $2.9 billion somewhere, but we're trying to ease the cost of financing because once you finance something, half of the project doesn't get done. So we're front-loading it to you get the amount that we need to get forward, and that's what that $2 for. Yours, mine, everybody's bill will be the same, I suppose.
Thank you for the explanation and responding to me. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate your time. Okay, now with the end of public comment, are there any requests by the public for reconsideration of legislative matters? There being none, item number 5, I apologize, I missed this in approval of the agenda. I believe this is going to be removed. May I have a motion to remove item number 5?
Second.
Motion by Councilman Citra, second by Councilman Goods. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, next we move to staff reports. And I have the first one being item 24. If anyone is here for 24. Okay, being apparently none, we will come back to 24 for 39. Anybody here for 39? How about 83? Okay. Is anybody here for 83? Is anybody here for 83?
He's sitting in the line. Mr. Chairman?
Mark who?
Just a reminder that number 83
Oh,
is
thank you, Brandon.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Go ahead.
Good morning, Council. This
And
is I'm Greg Spearman, Director of Purchasing here at the city. And also with me is Osea Lattimore, who is the Director of Logistics and Asset Management.
And
We
Mr.
have
Spearman,
with
if
us
I may, what number are you here for?
83 and 90.
Okay, thank you,
83 and 90. So one deals with the report that the council asked us to come back on, and the other item deals with the approval of the contract for renewal for the contract operated parts store. So what we want to do first, council, is to give you the report that you've asked us to provide, and if I could have the CCTV team to bring up the PowerPoint, please.
Yep.
Okay, so we want to give you this report, a brief report in terms of where we are with this contract. And this is a contract that we went to in January of 2015. It's a 5-year base period with 5 one-year options. The contract pricing is based on 2 components: a fixed price for service, which includes labor, equipment, inventory costs, and profit, and also parts at 0 markup. The fixed price for this particular contract is less than 10% of the parts cost. But typically in this industry, you see that the fixed price is anywhere between 20 to 30%, but we are at 10% of the less than 10% of the parts cost. This next slide actually shows you an evaluation the Mancom did when they took over the contract. So they looked at approximately 500 items at the time. 150 items have lower pricing than the initial inventory purchase from 2015. And 200 of those items have a lower price after the CPI adjustment from 2015. So what this means is that in 2015, of those 500 items, they total about $80,504. But the current price of those same items is $77,362, or about 3.9% lower than the period of time when the contract was initially taken over. So that was just their analysis in terms of looking at 500 items that were part of the city's inventory during that time. Now the next slide deals with the battery pricing. There was a question before you last time about battery pricing. So prior to the Mancom contract, Tampa Battery was the provider, okay? We had a good price, but very poor service and low quality in terms of the product. Warranties are not being honored. The batteries were dead when installed. We had poor quality batteries, low service levels, and an unknown country of origin in terms of the source of these batteries. The current supplier is Tampa Bay Battery, which is a local Tampa company. They provide for the city or for fleet maintenance a high quality battery with a high service level. They have weekly battery deliveries. They ensure that all batteries in stock have a full charge. They rotate the batteries to ensure that most required batteries are in stock. And they pick up the cords. They honor the warranties when needed, and the battery service life is extended, making the current vendor pricing less expensive. And these batteries are made in the USA. So by going to a company that offered us a better product, a better service, we actually ended up in terms of saving in that regard. So the pricing for a Group 65 battery at the time of the contract was taken over under the previous provider was $50. Today we pay $70. The group pricing for a Group 31 was $55, but we pay $88. But again, we're getting a much higher quality battery without having these issues we had before. So let's look at the next slide. Okay, this is the way the stockroom looked from the city operated. Prior to the contract, we only had about 44% stock availability, only 44%. We had a very low inventory level. Unfortunately, the stockroom was not well organized, and we did not have any bin locations for items that we had in inventory out at fleet. This is not the business the city is in, so this is one of the reasons why we contracted out this operation. Now let's look at the next slide to show you the comparison and the difference. Today, this is what the inventory stockroom looks like out at fleet. We currently have a 97% availability of parts. Now contrast that 5 years ago, we only had 44%. Today it's 97%. So what does that mean? A higher productivity for the fleet operation. The contract requires an 80% availability, but the vendor is 17% above what they're required to do. They're required at 80%, but they actually have a 97% availability in terms of parts. In terms of non-stock items, we have a 95% availability, and that's within 3 days. We have a very well-organized stock room, and all items are assigned to a bin. So you can, again, contrast the difference before and after and see that we're in much better shape. Now, let's move on to the next slide. There was a question about rent. Well, Tampa offered the existing stock room at no cost in terms of rent. But there are similar contracts in place with Cape Canaveral, Pasco County, Polk County, and Jacksonville, who also offer their stock rooms at no cost, because that's a benefit to the city in terms of the service we get with regard to the provider. So there are no known similar contract charges for stockroom usage. And so by contract terms, Tampa is the only customer to be supported from the stockroom. Thus, any rental costs would have been charged back to the customer, the city of Tampa, probably with a markup, which would have really increased the fixed operating costs of the contract. So what about other benefits? Well, the city has decreased the parts supplier contract to a single contract, We've avoided bidding, administering, and managing costs for multiple contracts and purchase orders. Previously, we had over 30 separate contracts, 30 bids, 30 advertisements, multiple purchase orders, multiple requisitions, multiple invoices, and multiple checks to be cut. So the efficiency was not only in the area of fleet, but all throughout the administration in terms of making sure that we were operating in a very efficient and effective manner. All inventory fleet is owned and purchased by Mancom. When they took the fleet over in 2015, we had $286,890 in inventory. Today, we have over $1.5 million in inventory out of fleet maintenance. Okay, so that's 5 times the inventory that we had when the city owned the operation in 2015. Mancom is able to shop for the best price at any time, providing better pricing to Tampa. Mancom is using local sources for parts totaling approximately $4.5 million. Okay? In 2018, 59 suppliers were used locally for over $3 million, about 66% of the total contract purchases. And in 2018, 37 Florida suppliers were utilized for over $1 million, so about 25%. So in total, about 91% of the items purchased and stored at the fleet warehouse comes from local and Florida vendors. Now let's look at this next chart. Why did we do this? Okay? Now, there are significant benefits from having gone to a parts management system. Let's start in the upper right-hand corner. You see the purple on my slide. Number one, we increase our fill rate. Secondly, we boost technician productivity. Prior to this contract, our techs were running to the parts store, buying parts, trying to make sure that they could get vehicles repaired. So what did that mean? Lost bench time. Lost time from having to go out and actually having to fix the vehicles because they were trying to source parts themselves. We are also able to control our parts costs through bulk purchases through the contract. We eliminated inventory, investment. We had about 286 on the shelf. They have 1.5 million. That inventory is not charged to the city until the work order is developed and that part comes across the county. Otherwise, it sits on the shelf and belongs to Mancom. We streamlined the purchasing process. I mentioned to you that we eliminated over 30 separate bids and contracts. That's a lot of time and effort on purchasing. And quite frankly, this is an efficiency move that really helps the city in a number of ways. We also leverage our supplier buying power. We lessen administrative time in terms of multiple requisitions, multiple purchase orders, multiple invoices, multiple checks that have to be cut. We've improved our parts availability. We've gone from 44% availability to 97%, which enables the fleet maintenance parts to keep the fleet on the road. And also we've reduced our operational costs. The other thing I want to point out is this contract has been audited by internal audit, and there were no major findings. Our internal audit department. And then the last slide basically shows you that throughout the country there are several of these government fleets which outsource their parts department. And there are two major players, Napa and Mancom. You see Napa in the yellow and Mancom in the green. And there's been a 22% increase in terms of this type of contract that actually exists throughout the country. Just in the Bay Area alone, we have three entities. We have City of Tampa, we have Pasco County, we have Palm Beach, and in the state of Florida, in addition to those three, we have the City of Cape Coral, and we also have the City of Melbourne. So with that, I am here along with Osita Lattimore and with Rick Clark from Mancom to answer any questions tonight.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Goods.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, I'm an old-time city employee, and I can remember back in the day when I had my police car, and we pull up in the maintenance, and you're in and out. Service was excellent back in those days, and then we came along and we cut jobs. Service went down. So when you talk about parts, and I look at now when I get phone calls about our fleet being down, and people sitting around the water cooler waiting for trucks to be maintained and fixed. And then people are getting off work late at night because they're working extra hour overtime because we don't have enough people working to fix the trucks and get them on the road. Have you heard those things, Mr. Scribner?
Well, Councilman Goose, let me address the first part of your question. We did not lay anybody off when we went to this concept. Not one single person lost their job. We had other vacancies in other areas of the cities, and all of these people were successfully placed. So no one, not one single person lost their job. Now, in terms of your second question, I'll have to ask Mr. Lattimore to address that.
So your question, Osita Wynn, Department of Logistics and Asset Management. So your question was about the availability of the fleet, sir?
Availability, but more or less making sure that the maintenance of the fleet is adequate, and making sure that the downtime of the fleet, that employees can get to their job sites to do their jobs. And my understanding is the fleet is constantly down. So is that due to a lack of manpower? Is that due to a lack of not having parts, or both?
Sir, so we are addressing that in terms of the fleet availability. And as Greg mentioned, no one was laid off in terms of this contract. But if you recall, and I'm not sure when you were here, but in the downturn, 1990, so that was prior to the downturn in the economy.
Oh, yeah.
And so during that time.
The 2016, so I was here a long time.
Okay, so during that time, during the downtime of the economy, we did experience some, we eliminated the vacant positions to help us with the budget. We're in the process now of actually right-sizing all of that to make it better, to make us more efficient in terms of getting the vehicles out. Now, in terms of what we do have in the vehicle availability, we are streamlining our internal processes so that we have actually shown some improvement, actually drastic improvement in that particular area.
So now
We are getting better. We have areas where we can improve, but we are getting better.
All right, so now even when we go in with this part system, my thing is, what are the vehicles just being patched to keep them on the road, or are we looking to look at the whole fleet as well?
So yeah, so we are looking at the whole fleet. They're not being patched to just keep them on the road. Our methodology is to see if there's something, if you bring a vehicle in for one item, just to do a complete look at the vehicle or piece of equipment to make sure we get all of those major items fixed and repaired at one time, so we're not going back and forth.
So we're doing a complete PM?
Yes, so we do have a complete PM on them. We have PM as well as the reactive maintenance on them as well.
Thank you, Mr. Associate.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Councilman Miranda, then Councilman Dingfelder.
Thank you very much. I've read some stuff on the information that I received this morning, and this is no reflection on Mr. Spearman or Ms. Lattimore or anyone that works in those divisions, but I've never voted for this contract, and let me tell you why. First of all, it says here that Mancom purchased the inventory like they did us a favor. When you make a deal, and I'm not Donald Trump, but when you make a deal, you make it that whatever inventory you have, if you bought a building or you bought a company, at the time you were making a purchase, you bought the inventory of that company that you were buying. Am I correct? In most cases.
Yes,
So in
sir.
essence, what they did was buy the contract, buy the equipment and inventory that we had at that time. So that's, I'm going to erase that one, that Mancom did no one a favor, because the way it's presented that, they made that deal and they wanted to buy it. No, that was part of the deal to consummate the deal. And then when I look at the other side of that same page, Tampa offered use of existing stock room at no cost. Let me take a pause and say that that was a taxpayer building that was bought by the taxpayers with taxpayer money, number one. And number two, when you have a building, I don't know what the square footage is, and I don't know what the cost of square footage is for commercial. That's a commercial building. What should be charged? So then is all that included in the price? Because now it's lower than before? Is that an adjustment that was made because now you gave the building and you have a less price per cost? At the end you have a write-down or a meltdown or something? I don't know that to be a fact. I'm just looking at this and saying, if what I read, what I seen in your presentation of the empty stock room, shame on me, shame on everybody as a city employee, and shame on everybody that was in administration. If that stock room was stocked at such a low amount of productivity, and when you know you had high demand just by what Councilman Good said, we faulted ourselves. We faulted ourselves. When I see a stock room that's full of items, of course you're going to have better servability and better turnaround time because it's there. If I've got to go buy a car, it's the same thing. They're going to have stock available for me in any dealership. But if you have a dealership without cars, how can you buy one? It's the same thing we did to ourselves. Shame on us. I go back and I continue to look at this thing, and I just did it very first. And I put $1.5 million in inventory. You know why? Because they know they're going to use it. So if we didn't know we were going to use it, again, shame on us. When I look at these things, and it continues, and I don't have enough time to go through all this because I just read it why. And here's the empty stock room, and here's one that's full. It's like building an apartment building where no one's moving in. You can't rent it. But when you know you're going to have the availability, you're going to build an apartment building. So that's what I look at. I look at something that's forgotten, that's so simple, that's called common sense, that Sometimes I question myself of everything that I do, I'll be honest with you. Then when you talk about we have depleted no employees, I agree with that. More than likely, you're right. However, let's go back to the employees. Where do the employees from Mancom come from? What benefits do they have? What health insurance do they have? What vacation package do they have? Is it comparable to the same thing we were paying our employees? To me, that's very important, because when I'm comparing fruit with fruit, I don't go from pears to apple. It's pears with pears and apples with apples. So I don't, although this is fine, done well, I just don't know what the real cost is, because these are just highlights. It doesn't make comparison about what was before and what was after. Who is working there, what their salaries are compared to ours. So those are the things that I look at, and I don't have an answer to that, so I don't know if you do or not. Pricing is one thing, and you talk about the batteries, the pure quality of batteries that we were buying. Again, shame on me, shame on anybody that bought the batteries from United, and I guess it was a very short period of time when we kicked United out. I don't know that to be a fact, and I'm not questioning anyone's authority or what they've done in the past. And you got now, I don't know who United Battery is. I don't know where they're located. I don't know what Tampa Bay Battery is. To me, they're just two names. It may even be the same person. I don't know. So those are the things that I create to myself, that I question myself with as I'm moving around looking at all these items on one time. The pricing is fine. The pricing of product is fine. But I still have doubt that the city of Tampa can do it like it did before, unless there was holes in there and things were vanishing. So I don't know it all. I try to understand what comes before me in writing and in pricing. And, you know, estimating pricing from inventory purchases to current prices, approximately 5 items, that's fine, but I don't know what they were. I don't know what the costs were. There's nothing explanatory in this other than summaries of something that happened. I'm not questioning what happened, but I certainly like to have it in black and white, what you were purchasing, what you're purchasing now, what your cost was, what the cost will be, what they're paying their employees, how many do they have? Do they have more than we did? Do they have less than we did? I don't know anything about that. So those are the things that through my one cell mind goes through real quickly, and sometimes I err myself. I admit that I'm a human being. Sorry to say that. So, but I like to have a complete evaluation. Audit only looks at the performance of what you have now and what's there. It doesn't go into the problem, what Mancom does, how they purchase, and how they pay the employees. That is not an auditing side of any audit. It's only what they specifically are told to audit. The scope of the audit determines the outcome of the scope of the audit. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Dingfelder.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thanks to the two of you for your report. Just a couple of other questions. When was the last time we bid this? And when would we expect to bid it again? I know today is just about a renewal because
Right, that is
because the contract is expiring.
Right.
It looks like December 19th.
Correct. The initial term, Councilman Dingfelder, was for 5 years, and we have 5 one-year renewals. And this is the first renewal.
So we've already been in it for 5?
We've been in it for 5, and then we have 5 one-year options to renew.
So this is just a 1-year renewal?
Correct.
Okay. So arguably, things change, the industry changed. I'm looking at your United States map here that speaks to Napa as being a healthy competitor of Mancom.
Correct. That is
so
correct.
Maybe by next December, we might be looking, or next fall, we might be looking at putting it back out to bid and seeing how Napa and any others might stack up.
That is a potential, and we will certainly look to the Director of Logistics and Asset Management to tell us they'd like to do that. The county currently is using Napa, and when we put this contract out to bid, Napa was one of the players. They were not successful.
Yeah, I figured, but you know, things changed.
Right.
People sharpen their pencils.
Absolutely.
I agree completely with what Mr. Miranda and Mr. Goods said. Charlie, you made some excellent points, and Goods, you've lived it. Here's my concern in regard to what happened, and I don't like to look backwards, but sometimes we have to. You showed empty shelves. I think we had empty warehouses without many people working in it. And of course, service is going to be bad. Greg, I believe you completely when you say we didn't lay anybody off. We just switched
Right.
them to other places. That's great.
Right.
Okay, that's human.
Right.
But one of you guys mentioned that we did have vacancies, and those vacancies probably started building up, and so we had empty positions. Well, of course, and then we, as Charlie mentioned, we had a reduced amount of stock in our inventory. So between the two, we set ourselves up for failure, in my opinion. And I do recall some of those days, because earlier on in 2010, when I was still here, I remember some of those issues and some of the layoffs and some of the freezing of positions and that sort of thing as the recession began to grow. So I don't know, if there's anything we can do about it today, because we're obviously deep into this whole different thing. And if we went the other direction and took over that building and that process again, we'd have to start from scratch. That's a big undertaking, and I'm not necessarily advocating that because I don't know what's involved in it. But looking at it retrospectively, I think we set ourselves up for failure in how we got to where we are today. I think the city of Tampa can handle that type of warehouse and inventory and everything else just as good as the private vendor, and probably at the end of the day save money. Okay? But for whatever reason, we didn't prioritize it. Okay, we didn't lay off police and fire because those were our priorities. But this warehousing and inventory obviously was lower on the priority list and sort of drifted away. So that's my stump there. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate 83 and 89. Before we proceed, we had noticed that there were two Pinellas County officers in the back, and we have learned through our former police officer here, Councilman Goods, that you folks are here for item 22. If y'all just want to come up and do your due diligence, that this item has not been pulled, but if you just want to state your names, because I assume that's what you're here to do.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes, sir.
Ask council if it's willing to, at this point, consider the resolution for number 83 and cross that off the agenda, because that does require council action. And it is on the staff report. So
Okay, yes. Yep. Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Escapo, a second by whom? A second by Councilman Miranda. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. If you all just want to state your name and where you're from, and
I'm Lieutenant Joseph Garrett, Pinellas County Sheriff's Office Special Operations Division, and this is Sergeant Ron Blair with our Special Events Unit. And we just came if you had any question, reference to barriers or anything to be used for, anything like that.
on 22. Okay,
That's just a pass-through.
yes, and I agree. I don't believe there's no question, gentlemen. Okay, no questions at all, so that should go through. But I just want to bring y'all up so that in case if y'all have to leave or anything of that nature, I think y'all have more important things to do, very likely. So
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
thank you, guys.
Thank you for all your time.
Have a good day, and thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Next, we move onward to item 24.
Good morning, Council. My name is Monica Ammon. I'm the Real Estate Division Manager for the City of Tampa. I'm here to address any questions on item number 24 with regard to a license agreement at a Tampa Convention Center.
Any questions from council?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I pulled that item. Mr. Bennett and I had a short discussion on that item, which basically, and you can explain it better than I can, but as I read it, it's an agreement between us and New Singular Wireless Company as a successor to AT&T Wireless. It sounds like it's just sort of a contract issue. We are paid $42,000 by the company, according to what I'm reading.
That's correct.
To allow them to hang their wireless equipment in our building, and I guess they profit from having that equipment in our building. Obviously, we profit from providing our customers good wireless service in the building. Tell me when I'm wrong.
That's correct. That's all correct.
But my big question was, in a field like this that's not day-to-day driven like purchasing, like Greg Spearman can tell us how much nuts and bolts cost. We're not in this business very much. So how do we know that $42,000 is a good deal?
Okay. Well, this particular item is a reinstatement of this license agreement.
Sure.
The vendor apparently sent a notification of termination, which was allowed in the license agreement,
Right.
in error. And so we received that in January. We had a lot of discussions with the provider as well as with the Tampa Convention Center about reinstating or not reinstating. We considered all our options, and the Tampa Convention Center felt that it was in the city's best interest to go ahead and reinstate the license agreement.
What other options did we have?
Well, since it was a notification to terminate, we could have allowed them to terminate. We take the risk, of course, of not having the service level that we would have for our visitors to the Tampa Convention Center.
And then we would replace them by a different bid or something, or how does that work?
Well, we have not bid this out.
Right, but I'm
because
just
we have
saying in
this
terms of
program.
what our options were last January, when you got the notification.
Well, we have other providers in the building, but the level of service may have gone down. This particular provider continued to provide the service because they, like I said, it was inadvertent, so they continued to provide the service to the Tampa Convention Center. And because they were current in their rent, they had paid that in advance as well.
Do we receive the same $42,000 from all the vendors?
That, in that range, yes. Some providers pay a little less, some pay a little more.
And how, again, going back to my initial question, how do we know what's a good deal? How do we know we shouldn't be getting $100,000? How do we know?
Yeah, well, they usually don't accept our offer of $100,000, but the definition of market is, of course, whatever the tenant or the buyer will pay you to provide that service. And so we had that to consider. We had that to consider, that the level of service at the Tampa Convention Center, because this equipment is very specific to that particular structure. It's used for hospitals, malls, and large buildings like the Tampa Convention Center to provide the service.
All right, my last question then, did we compare what we're receiving there to other places like St. Petersburg's, if they have a convention center, or Lakeland Convention Center, or what have you?
And with all due respect, sir, that is the challenge in this, finding the market rate for this, because it's very location specific, and it's very service specific, and it's also very evolving data because it's constantly changing.
All right. Well, no, you've answered my questions, sort of, but maybe next time we see this item, maybe we can have a little more comparison in terms of what's being paid elsewhere. What are they paying in Miami? You know, that sort of thing.
Okay.
Otherwise, it's kind of like they make us an offer, we say, okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, next one.
Well, I can move item 24 if you wish, or I can leave it there.
We'll just wait until the time, if we may.
No problem.
Next, move onward to item 39. Hart, Mr. Gregory Hart, or Mr. Spearman?
Good morning, Council. Mark Wolfoff, Department of Solid Waste and Environmental Program Management. Here to answer any questions you may have on the item involving the renovation of our solid waste container shop over at 4010 Spruce Street.
Mr. Chairman, I'll just cut to the chase, if you wish.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Item 39, thank you, Mark and Greg. This is sort of, I guess, the finishing up of the, hopefully, of the contract to rebuild this building, which is great. Glad we're doing it. Obviously needed.
Right.
It's a $1.1 million. Now we're up to $1.1 million, according to what I read.
That's correct.
And this particular item is an additional $209,000 to get us there. All great. My standard regular question 2 or 3 days ago was, what out of the 1.1 million, what is our percentage of MBE, minority business, or SBE, small business? And I think the document I got from Mr. Bennett indicated 2.6%. And that's why I pulled it, just so we could continue to have this conversation. I'd love someday not to have this conversation. 2.6%. Mr. Hart.
Good morning, Council. Gregory Hart, Equal Business Opportunity Program Manager. You are correct. The participation is approximately 2.6% on this particular project. The approved goal was 2.7%. This project is essentially construction of a pre-manufactured building, and the availability and opportunity existed in some of the plumbing work and electrical work. And in those categories, and some flooring, we did achieve participation. So the economic opportunity was essentially 2.73%. So we have attained what we expected, and those contractors did perform and have been paid, sir.
I don't know how everybody else feels about it. You know, to me, I mean, a construction project like this, just to me, just sort of lends itself to additional participation. Yeah, I understand a prefab building, there's probably a lot of money in the metal in the building itself and that sort of thing, but you know, 2.7% is our goal, and they you know, can barely even meet that. I don't know. I just think we need to really push people harder and get our goals higher.
Is there any way we can further encourage it within this particular endeavor? I mean, we have no other options at our disposal, or?
Well, we did look at that, specifically this change order. This change order is essentially a settlement arrangement for some unforeseen items that occurred on site. There were some code issues with regard to creating some controls for the eye wash. There was an issue that surfaced with regard to the metal building. It was disfigured, and so this is essentially funding to reconcile the costs associated with those in the field unforeseen circumstances that did arise. There was a little bit of plumbing related type of work that had to be done as well. The certified plumber on the job, it would have been offered to that particular certified company. However, they do not possess the requisite license to do the gas line, this particular plumber. So we always vet and look at extended opportunity. It just was not here.
I understand. Okay. Anybody else? Councilman Carlson.
Just related, I know that you and the mayor are working together to try to address minority participation systemically by going out in the community, and thank you all for doing that. When do you think would be a good time for you all to give us an update on that? Are you ready within the next couple of months, or you think we should wait a few months?
If I recall, sir, I believe we're scheduled to come back to council quarterly, or maybe there's a December date
it would set up
to do a specific update. I'd like to think that when I was before you in October, I think that was the 24th,
Okay,
did
great.
provide
Thank you.
a very up-to-date and current overview of participation to date and over the past 3 or so years.
Yeah, it'd be just great to hear. I know you all are doing a lot of efforts, a lot of outreach. It'd be great to hear how it's going. Thank you so much.
Anyone else? Councilman Mills.
You know, I always talk about the process, and the process is key. And I think we're just missing some key elements in the process still. I'm glad you brought that up, Mr. Carlson. I'm hoping when that report comes back, we talk about when we start to finish and don't leave any middle out. How many started that process along the way and how many complete. That way we can measure the outcomes. Because if we're not having completion, then we're not getting outcomes. And that tells me there's a problem with the middle portion of the project. I talk about the RFP process all the time, like the language, and I think it's how we put things out. And I think we're missing a piece of the process. I hear it all the time in the communities, you know, we're still missing that piece. And I've got to figure out what that piece is. But we're missing that piece. I think I know what it is because I'm seeing other places that are getting better results than we are. I'm seeing other cities giving tremendous results. They have a process that you ain't getting the contract every time. You go to the bottom of it. There are other processes in place, and we've got to look at what other people are doing. That's why people are upset and complaining. Had a bunch of people yesterday about construction services. I just think it's the process, and I'm hoping when you bring that report back, that we have every piece so we can figure out why we are not getting that participation, or why we're not getting people certified.
Anyone else? Thank you very much, gentlemen. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we move to item 84. Ms. Duncan.
Good morning, City Council members. Jean Duncan with Transportation and Stormwater Services Department. I do have a PowerPoint here for you. Hopefully we'll get that going here. See if I get any cues here from the technology folks. Oh, you have it? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Huh, I wish I had it on my screen. That would be nice, but we'll do the best we can here. Okay. That's actually the last slide. Yes.
Yes, sir.
For my aid, if you're listening, look on the email. I just got an email from FDOT. If you can bring that to me, please. Thank you.
Is it?
Can our CTT folks help me out here and get the
Can someone
item
help Ms.
84
Duncan?
presentation online?
PowerPoint, not a PDF, is that right?
It's a PowerPoint, yes.
Okay, it appears to be Roundabouts 34th Street project.
Okay.
Got the first slide.
Okay, the audience isn't seeing it, nor am I, but we can,
Do you want a paper copy or?
I have one here.
Okay.
No, we lost the first page. We're back to the last.
Okay. Apologize for the difficulties here.
Technical difficulty. You're working on it.
Should we proceed to
Well, I
another
can
item?
proceed.
Or? Okay, you want to?
I'll proceed, yes.
Okay, go ahead, please.
And my intent with the PowerPoint was to give a little background briefly on the safety of roundabouts. I feel like there's a lot of information out there that's just not correct. And I also wanted to give a little more information about this project on 34th Street. This is a corridor improvement project. We're improving the entire corridor, 2-mile length of the corridor, with not only the 3 roundabouts at 3 intersections, but with landscaping, with new sidewalks, with street lighting. We'll be resurfacing the roads. Those potholes won't be there anymore. The striping will be upgraded. The intersections will be upgraded. So it's a full-blown corridor improvement for the entire length of the roadway and not just the 3 roundabouts at 3 intersections. So looks like we might be ready to go here. So thank you. So again, I won't dwell on these slides. I just wanted to put these out there. That basically what this is showing, that we look at crashes in several categories, serious crashes. And basically those are the angle, or what's called T-bone, left crashes, left turn crashes, and the side swipes, which are the lesser severe of those 3. And the majority of the fatal injury crashes are due to our left turn or angle crashes, and those occur at the intersection majority of the time.
By the way, it is up. You can use the remote. You can see it up there, and I'm going to see if I can get it up to that.
Thank you. So basically what this graph is showing is that at a regular 4-legged intersection, if you have a stop sign or if you have a signalized intersection, if it's a stop sign, 70% of those crashes that are fatal are due to the angle crashes, and 43% of the fatal crashes at a signalized intersection are due to angle crashes. Point being, sorry.
It's upgrades, Mr. Chair.
I know.
It's upgrades.
Thank you. Okay. So again, point being that if we can remove the dangerous portion of the intersection, which is that center piece, where the majority of these fatal or injury crashes are occurring, we can go from different statistics depending on if you're looking at a signalized intersection or a stop intersection, 70%, 43%, all the way down to about a 3% level of fatal or injury crashes by having just that sideswipe condition occurring and not those center intersection crashes occurring, which are the most dangerous and bad results occurring from them. Again, this is just another slide to show you that if we can, nationally, our data is showing us from a national level that if we can convert a signalized intersection or a stop-controlled intersection, we can reduce the crashes generally by about 48%, and reduce fatal and injury crashes by about 60%. Same thing if we look at the a two-way stop condition intersection, dramatic results of reducing not only the number of crashes, but the type of severe injury crashes if we can make those changes with a roundabout versus the signalized intersection or a stop condition intersection. A couple more quick slides here just to show you, get a sense of what these roundabouts are doing at intersections. With a typical four-legged intersection on the left there, we can count 32 conflict points, vehicle-to-vehicle conflict points. So there's 32 opportunities for vehicles to crash into each other at a four-legged intersection. And they're generally going at higher speeds, severe angles, and high energy. If we have a roundabout in place, we reduce those conflict points down to 8 points of potential conflict, vehicle to vehicle. And again, roundabouts are generally signed for about 20 miles an hour. So if there is a crash, it's occurring at a lower speed, at a more, a better angle where there's less injury or fatality, and lower energy as well. Pedestrian to vehicle, similar thing. On the left, a pedestrian who's crossing a four-legged intersection, there's 24 opportunities to conflict with that vehicle that's either going straight, through, left, or right through the intersection. With a roundabout, we can reduce those conflict points down to 8 again, minimizing the opportunity for that interaction and that crash opportunity from happening. So just want to put out there that this is a significant improvement to our intersections if we're able to apply a roundabout treatment. We can't put roundabouts at every single intersection. They don't always work because of traffic volumes. But where they do work, they provide a significant benefit safety-wise and also an aesthetic benefit as well. So just a little more information about roundabouts. Generally, they give a lot of pedestrian safety. They provide a refuge island for pedestrians who are crossing. The speeds are lower through the roundabouts, 20 miles an hour. You cannot run a roundabout. You can put a signal up or a stop sign up. If someone chooses to ignore that, they can rush through, speed through, and create an accident or a crash. If you have a roundabout in place, it's not going to have the same outcome. Again, aesthetics is another benefit of the roundabouts. We're planning to do some public art with the 3 roundabouts on 34th Street. We want to engage the public in that process, and I think that's going to be a very great outcome of a really aesthetically pleasing artwork that they're going to have in the neighborhood when we get done with that art encounter with the artists that we're looking to hire. Reduced emissions. We don't have cars sitting and just spewing out their smoke. They're just traveling through, so we've reduced emissions. Well, Hurricane Irma struck. We had about 2/3 of our signals went out through the city of Tampa. We had to bring generators out, fuel those generators with gasoline. We didn't have streetlights working, so it was a very unsafe condition at our intersections. If we have roundabouts, we don't have to go through all of that effort to fuel and generate the intersections to get the traffic signals online. We have a resistant treatment that's going to be there if there's a storm or not. Less congestion with these roundabouts, traffic can flow through, there's no stop condition. And again, less maintenance costs to not have to maintain the power and maintain the traffic signals. Apologies, my clicker's not cooperating here.
You need more help with,
CTTV, I need you.
I guess, need more help from Ms. Duncan, please.
Can you help me progress the slides?
I know.
Just have a few more, so apologize for the delay.
Go ahead, ma'am. If you want to just go from
Yes,
your own and
okay.
then we can, catch up.
I'll just keep going. I'm so sorry. So my next slide was basically about the specific 34th Street project. We will have 3 intersections being converted to a roundabout condition, which we consider that to be the safest treatment that we can place at an intersection. We are going to have a continuous section throughout this corridor of 2 miles. Right now, there's sections that are 4-lane and 2-lane. It's going to be a continuous cross-section to minimize any confusion. We're going to have crosswalks. We're going to have flashing beacons at all of the roundabouts where pedestrian can activate the beacon and have the flashers come on to add another element of safety for the crossing. We'll have reducing the speed limit throughout the entire corridor to 30 miles an hour. Here's the slide I'm speaking to now, so thank you. We're going to have new bicycle facilities, new sidewalks, new street lights. We'll improve some drainage issues that are out there on the corridor. And again, we're working with Ed Johnson and Robin Nye for hiring 3 different artists who will be working with the community to select some artwork for each of the 3 roundabouts. There were some questions about our public engagement. We had 2 public meetings and extensive coordination throughout this process with the East Tampa CRA and community stakeholders. I'm sorry, this slide is not matching what I'm speaking about here. So this is just an example of other roundabouts throughout the city. Here we go, thank you. So question is, why are we putting roundabouts on 34th Street? Well, when we started this process about 2013, there had been a number of fatal crashes, along the 34th Street corridor. One in particular was at 34th and Chelsea, where 3 people were killed in just that one accident. The public demanded we do something about all the injuries and deaths that were occurring on 34th Street. So that's exactly what we did. And again, given that we have limited gas tax dollars, which, by the way, this project is using gas tax monies and money from the state of Florida, neither of which can be used for any other purpose other than transportation. So we don't have the liberty to take this money and put it on another project of any type because those monies are dedicated for transportation purposes. So we reached out to the Department of Transportation because there was a demand for action. There was a lot of concern that this road was being overlooked. And so that's when we started on this journey of trying to improve this corridor in this area. There's also been some conversations about roundabouts in the city of Tampa. They are not only in East Tampa. We have 28 roundabouts throughout the city of Tampa. There is a map in your packet. It doesn't translate too well in the Elmo, so I won't show it, but we have 28 existing roundabouts throughout the city of Tampa, and we have 23 more that we're planning in all areas of our city, South Tampa, New Tampa, all over the city of Tampa, because this is the best treatment we could apply to give the safest condition for our residents who are driving around, and it's a huge benefit to minimize injuries and fatalities. And that's our whole mission, to make our roadways safer for everyone to use. And we were really excited we're able to do this on 34th Street because there is a real need to improve that roadway and make it safer and more beautiful for everyone.
Ms. Duncan, can you name a few other communities that have the roundabouts presently?
Yes, sir. I have a map that's attached. I will put that on the Elmo if you like. It's a little light colored, so it's maybe not easy to see. But if you could see the dots on it at least.
On the 34th Street one?
You'll see the dots are all over
Could you
the
just,
city. Is it?
Could you just ask the control room to put on the overhead projector, please? Yep. Oh, it looks like something is happening here today.
I make a motion that we upgrade
Yeah.
no money.
There we go.
Thank you.
It's on the
Okay.
monitors now. Their monitors next. Thank you.
So it's, again, it's, now you can let me show the whole thing at once, but this upper box is the new Tampa area. And then I'll just slide it up so you can see the rest of the city. You see the dots all over the city of Tampa there, just to give you a sense that all the way down towards McGill Air Force Base and all the way up through the city, including New Tampa. So, we have them planned and have them existing throughout the city, and we would like to do more because our national data, our state data, everything is pointing to this type of treatment as being the best way that we can minimize fatal injuries and also give a better experience for pedestrians to cross, and also an opportunity for aesthetics and landscaping. And landscaping, I don't have any data to share with you today, but we know landscaping translates to traffic calming. We can have landscaped areas within our roadways. It gives people more of a sense of they're in a community, they're in a neighborhood, they need to watch their speed limit, and all those things are going to help to have less situations going on where people are getting hurt, whether driving or trying to walk along the roadway. So my last slide, and then I'll take any questions, if I can get it to progress, is just our schedule. This shows how we started out with doing a concept, with working with the Department of Transportation, going into the design phase. We had to purchase some properties along the way, and now we're getting ready to go to construction. The project has already been bid. A bidder has been selected, and that bid will be coming before you in the next few weeks for approval to get started with the construction of the corridor. So I welcome any questions that you may have.
Thank you,
And
ma'am.
apologize for the
Councilman Maniscalco,
disruptive
Councilman
presentation.
Booth, and then Councilman Carlson. Go ahead.
Well, you answered my first question, and that is, could we shift the money to another project, to an affordable housing project? Whatever was said, in the audience today, and you said no, because these funds, gas tax money and everything are allocated strictly for this. Over the last couple weeks, I've bumped into several people from the East Tampa community that have said, we don't want roundabouts. Help us fight this. We don't want roundabouts. But it's either we do nothing and the money goes back to wherever, or, as you have shown, the reduction in pedestrian fatalities and whatnot and public safety issues. Now, I will tell you this, that with the previous council, when Councilman Reddick was representing the seat, several times I heard, and I remember one in particular day during public comment, please do something about the speeding on 34th Street. 34th Street is dangerous. I drive Martin Luther King and I cross through the area all the time, and it's looked as it does, 34th Street, for 60 years, 50 years. I mean, it's very, it hasn't been upgraded. So, being that Tampa and this area is known as the most dangerous in this country for pedestrian and bicycle fatalities, this is a step in the right direction. I think, again, as in many other issues, our hands are tied with the funding. We can either do nothing, which is foolish, but we have this money that's dedicated for these projects. I see the benefit of it. It's going to improve the aesthetics. It's going to improve the safety for the people that are on foot, on bicycle. We need this. People talk about, when are you going to pave our roads? You're going to see road repaving. You're going to see intersection improvements, lighting improvements, less maintenance, as you have mentioned, if we don't have that four-way stop. So, I mean, I want to say, don't do anything, and the people don't want this, the community doesn't want this, but then, I see the need for it. And I remember how many times folks have come here through the years saying, and through Councilman Reddick's office, do something about 34th Street. So, I'm in a hard, between a rock and a hard place. I got to have a list of all these phrases. But I understand, what the necessity is and the benefit of it is. So,
Thank you, sir. Councilman Goods, and then Councilman Carlson, then Councilman Citro, then Councilman Dinkel.
Man, you're under a rock, huh? Man, I got a big rock, Ms. Duncan, thank you. We met previously. I told you some of the concerns and wanted to make sure that you came and give a presentation so the Roswell people can see and understand what is happening here. I did receive a call from my predecessor's aide, Mr. McCray, in reference to this roundabout issue. I guess he's way up there and he's heard about it, and he wanted me to know how this came about And my understanding is there were several community meetings per his conversation back in 2012 in reference to this issue. And apparently Councilman Reddick at that time wanted to make sure that there would not be any kind of confusion with this project because of the 40th Street project before in District 5. So apparently from the conversation I had with him, there were several meetings pertaining to the roundabout with community leaders in reference to that. He made reference to the NFL Yet Center where a meeting was held and a few other locations. Now we're fast forwarding till today, and you've got some citizens who are concerned about the roundabouts, and then we heard from a lot of actual stakeholders who live in that community and some of the neighborhood presidents who live there who were saying that what they want as well. So I have to show a balance of, okay, who lives there versus the general public saying, well, we got housing issues, concerns. So it's a juggling act. But I do have a few questions that were sent to me, and I want to make sure, and Councilman Kowski talked about where that money was coming from. That money is coming from a gas tax in FDOT, which FDOT gave, I believe it was $1 million to the project. Is that correct?
Yes, let me check my.
So if you can just run down the funding sources
Certainly,
what each
yes,
project
sir.
is giving, so the audience can know where the money is actually coming from, so they know it's not coming from CAA dollars for actual brick and mortar. It's not coming from any general fund money. Where is this money coming from?
Yes. The majority of the funds have come from a grant from the Department of Transportation called the Highway Safety Improvement Program. And it's a very rigorous process we have to go through to demonstrate the need for the project because we're competing against locations all over the state of Florida for this money. And so we were fortunate enough to make our case with the cost-benefit analysis and all the information we had about the corridor, and they granted the funds to us to fund the design, portions of the design, property acquisition, and construction. The city is also putting in funds as well, $1 million plus, but those funds are gas tax dollars. They are not CRA dollars. And again, the gas tax dollars and the HSIP, as we called it, Highway Safety Improvement Program monies, have strings on them. The strings are, they have to be for transportation safety improvement projects. And it's not just a big pot of money with dollars in it and you can just pull them out for whatever purpose. So we do believe, though, that if you have a safe corridor, if you have a safe roadway and it's aesthetically pleasing, that's going to translate to better things in terms of the economic development and interests folks might want to have to live or build or develop near these roadways. So it does have a halo effect in that regard.
What is the total amount of the project?
The total amount is $5.2 million for the design, property acquisition, and construction engineering inspection.
And none of those dollars are coming from any CRA funds, strictly from the gas tax that has to be utilized for road improvements and a state grant that came from the FDOT, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Just a few more, Mr. Chairman. We've talked about the meetings, and I see Mr. Johnson is back there. Did you attend those meetings, Mr. Johnson? Make sure the business owners were aware of these type of things, what was going on.
All the meetings that we had.
Ed Johnson, East Tampa CRA manager. Yes, I did. A couple of years ago, we had several meetings at the NFL Yet Center where we invited all the stakeholders along that corridor. And there were a number of them that attended that meeting. And of course, there were folks that were there speaking in opposition to the roundabouts. But the interesting thing that I picked up more than anything out of those discussions were the residents that lived along the 40th Street corridor actually came to the meeting and were advocating to the residents along 34th Street that they should be in support of them, and they gave their reasons why and how they have been so negatively impacted by lack of transportation issues in the 40th Street corridor. And when the roundabouts were built, it was their saving grace. And they imparted that information to the folks along that that lived and worked along that 34th Street corridor, and they really appreciated that happening. And I think that was one of the impetuses that encouraged people to vote in favor of the roundabouts, was from other testimony.
Ms. Duncan, the contracts, you said they're due to come to council, correct?
Yeah, yes.
Now, with those contracts, we got a specific goal that we're trying to meet for minority hires in that contract, and have we named a contractor for this project?
We've named the contractor, I believe that's, I'm not 100% sure if that's ready for prime time, so to speak, because it's going through the negotiation process. But we have identified the low bidder, we're negotiating with the low bidder, and we will be presenting that final negotiated contract to you very shortly. And we're, of course, working with Mr. Hart, as we always do, to incorporate as much of the minority participation as possible, so.
Because a roadway, that's gonna be a lot of, I call it brick and mortar type of work, and that Mr. Hart always talks about. The city doesn't have a lot of brick and mortar, so we shouldn't have an issue with having a high standard. If this goes through with this council, making sure we have a high standard of minorities on this particular contract. So it shouldn't, because if it goes through, I won't accept anything low or a good faith effort. No, it must be, this is the goal we need to meet, because, for me to take heat on a project that may pass or go through, I don't need to hear that there are no African Americans working on 34th Street in our community. So I want to make that perfectly clear. I just don't want to hear that.
Yes, and so when we hand these projects off to be constructed, our contract administration department works with Greg Hart's office to follow the appropriate processes to make sure that we negotiate appropriately, we include the minority participation appropriately. So that's the status we're in right now with the project.
I received the email, like I stated earlier, one of the our prominent leaders in our community, I guess, has been in contact with FDOT and has been been in contact with Mr. McKinney of FDOT. And apparently they're asking, or we're asking FDOT, could there be any other modifications to this project versus to the roundabout? And I wanted to make sure I put that out to ask that question. And I guess the response here is that they could do anything, but the city hadn't approached them with any other type of modification. So I'm just putting it out there to you. What's your take on that?
Again, I'm not sure how the question was posed to Mr. McKinney, but generally, we have a very rigid protocol we follow with the Department of Transportation. They don't allow one step to go to the next level unless all the boxes have been checked, basically, because they have to stay consistent with their work program. The work program is how they're judged by the state secretary, and so their goal is always to keep production on track. So we've got the green light to go to design phase, green light to go to acquisition, now the green light to go to construction, meaning everything is set for what we're going to be building. So to go back to the Department of Transportation and want to change the design, which would precede the acquisition and the construction, I doubt that that's going to go well with the department. And if we don't stick with their rules, our ability to get more grants from them going forward is certainly diminished. And it's always our goal to stay on track with what the requirements are for the money that they give us.
Mr. Chairman, my last question, because it's a hot item in each table right now, sir. As it relates to the contract, it's coming before this council. So if this council decided not to move forward with this project, that means the project would be dead in the water. Is that correct?
Yes, likely the Department of Transportation would decide to take the grant money back and reallocate it to another project that's already in the pipeline for consideration. And then our gas tax would just get reappropriated to another project elsewhere. So it would be a huge lost opportunity, in my opinion, if we didn't go forward with the project. When we do transportation projects, whatever we do, there's always those that are not 100% in favor. It's hard to just satisfy everyone with our transportation projects. And anytime something's changing, there's always anticipation and anxiety that people have. And we do our best to try to work through that, but it's just one of those things where there's always going to be some anticipation when things are changing. But we really believe that this is going to be a huge benefit for the neighborhood, a much safer condition, and that's the only reason we do these projects, is to try to make things better and safer for everyone. That's our goal, and nothing else.
I appreciate you coming and giving information, but I just want to be clear so the public knows the pros and cons to this project and understand their implications if things don't go through. We may not get another chance, or it might be the best thing. I don't know, but I want to make sure that they know that I was able to get their questions out there to them. And then when that comes, whenever it comes, that'll be a part of this body to decide what we're going to do at that time. But I thank you for giving us your time.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Councilman. Next, Councilman Carlson, and let's try to move through, if I may, and Councilman Goose being his district, obviously, a lot of questions there. Briskly, because I know we have 1, 2, 3 more staff reports that I want to get done before lunch.
Mr. Chairman, on staff reports?
Yes, sir.
Unless there's objection from Ms. Quell or council, 86 and 87, I think we're both my ideas, and I'm okay to defer those probably out till February because neither of them are in a rush.
Do you want to make a motion in that regard, sir? Or?
If that's okay with her. Yeah, and I'm sorry you sat here so long, Kathy. Yeah, I'll move 86, 87 to February 20th.
Second. Okay.
Yeah, similarly, not, is it staff reports? Yeah, staff reports fine.
Okay, thank you, sir. We have a motion by Councilman Dingfelder for 86 and 87, seconded by Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you, Councilman Dingfelder. And next we have Councilman Carlson, then Councilman Citro, then Councilman Dingfelder. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, just some thoughts. At Cafe on Tampa a few years ago, we had a speaker who spoke extensively about what he called modern roundabouts, and I think in the positioning of this, it might be good to add another word like that to call them modern roundabouts, because people think about Clearwater, or they think about the ones overseas that they've run into, and they think they're these big things that are going to cause accidents. And as you described, the modern roundabouts, which you hit briefly here, they seem to make sense, and on the surface, I'm in favor of them. I think the issue here is that there's a low awareness and understanding of how roundabouts work. And besides just public outreach on the for the areas that are being immediately affected, I wish there was some kind of public outreach citywide so that people would understand what they are. The other issue is you've done public outreach, but there are some people in favor and some people against it. And so we have the tough decision of trying to wade through that and listen to the interests of the people. But the biggest issue I think in this is that I hear from East Tampa is it's an issue of equity. The question is, why are you giving these to us first? And in some ways we want to give things to East Tampa first, but this is something that people don't know about. They haven't really experienced them, and they feel like they're being experimented on a little bit. And so I wonder if we approve this. This is far down the road, and there's a lot of money and other things riding on it. You talked about the safety issues and the people that had died before, and you were trying to find a solution. But if we're trying to address the long-term issues, I wonder if it's possible after this to maybe slow down or put a hold on the ones in East Tampa and move to other places. Like the biggest question I get is, if you like roundabouts, why don't you put them in South Tampa? And I only see 3 or 4 in South Tampa, maybe a couple more. But in South Tampa or any other place that wants them, it seems like if we could go into a neighborhood or an area that wants them and invites them. I know lots of areas of South Tampa that were begging me for stop signs and begging me to solve problems of speeding through 4-way stops. If we could find these solutions and put them in and prove that they work, then maybe the rest of the city would see that the decision is equitable and that they're a good solution. So just some thoughts and ideas.
Thank you, Councilman Carlson, Councilman Citro, then Councilman Dingfelder.
Mr. Chairman, very quickly, I thank you, Ms. Duncan, for your thorough report on this, and I've been through many a roundabout that are in the city, South Tampa, Forest Hills, to give you prime examples. There was a question about land acquisition for these. How much land was actually acquired? What type of land was it? Was it private housing? Was it business? Just give me a ballpark figure of this, so that we can have an answer to that question that was posed earlier.
I'll tell you as much as I can at the moment. We do have a full breakdown of all the purchases that I could provide to you. Generally, we spent about $1 million acquiring mostly corner clips, as we call them, in the area of the roundabout where we didn't have quite enough space within the existing right-of-way, and we needed a little extra piece of land. I do believe that some of the properties we acquired were from the Jackson's Market, Buccaneer Linen, and the Church of God. I just know that from the meetings I have on my list here. So I don't have a full list of those purchases with me, but that's certainly something that could be provided to you if you're interested in that.
I guess my point, Ms. Duncan, is houses could not have been built on these little cut corners.
Oh, no, no.
Okay. Were these properties bought at the owner's consent? Meaning,
Yes.
was it, oh, thank you
Yes,
very
we
much.
went through a process. It was under what's called the eminent domain process, but there was negotiating with the property owners, and they were what we call stipulated, which means settled. So there's not any issue outstanding where the property owners don't feel that they were not compensated or that their property was taken from them.
Ms. Duncan, I thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir, thank you. Councilman Dingfelder, you're next. Councilman Goods had a follow-up question quickly. Do you mind him going before you, sir? Thank you, sir.
The names you named the property, you said Jackson Store?
I believe so.
Jackson
I'm
Store is
assuming
at
because we
34th
had.
and Osborne. So that's a congregate place where people hang at Jackson Store. And you said Church of God?
Yes.
That's the corner of Reverend Scott's church, is it not?
Yes.
And what was the other one again?
Buccaneer Linen.
Buccaneer. So that means that all those folks in that community had to be notified, or since
Oh,
they sold
yes,
their
we
property.
were very,
So
very
that
much.
means that probably they were on board because they sold their property for the project.
Oh, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Thank you for articulating my point.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Dingfelder, go ahead, sir.
Right, and just to clarify, when they do that, they just nip off a little corner of that project, so it's not like we're shutting down those businesses or the church. We're just taking that little edge so you can actually make that circle. Let me just get a little clarification on the dollar figures, Gene. Because there is some city funding in there. It comes out of I think you said it strictly comes out of our gas tax.
Yes.
Reimbursements. So we have discretion if that's how we want to use our city funds. I don't want anybody to think that there's no, quote, city funds in there. We get the money
Right.
back from Tallahassee on the gas tax, and then we decide what we want to use it for to improve safety. And that's what you've testified to. So do you have a sense out of that $5.2 million, how much of that or what percentage of that comes from the city's portion?
I can give you an exact breakout, but just looking at the list here, gosh, I'd have to guess. I apologize. I don't have broken up
Ballpark
with the
works
city
for me.
pieces, but majority is the state of Florida funds. But
So-
I'm happy to provide what the city portion is. I just don't have
So
that.
out of the 5.2 million, our portion, it might be what, $1 million or something, or $2 million?
Probably less than that,
Less than $1 million, okay.
but I didn't bring those granular details with me, but I'm happy to
Okay.
share that.
Let's talk about older roundabouts that have been there forever. Out at the base of Davis Island, down by the airport, where South Davis meets West Davis, and there's another small street that comes in there too. It might be Severn. That roundabout has been there probably 50-plus years, as far back as I can remember, and people negotiated. Now, those aren't as busy roads as 34th Street, but people figure it out. They figure it out. It's just something different. But once you get used to it, it's actually better because if you come down those streets, and 40th Street's a good example, otherwise you'd have to stop at all those intersections, either for a stop sign or a red light. But when you come to a circle, you don't have to stop. You just safely slow down and negotiate, going through it. I guess I speak to somebody who actually, even though I was born here, I got my driver's license in New Jersey. I think the state bird in New Jersey is the roundabout. And we had so many, and you just get used to it, and ultimately, I do believe it's much safer than the alternative. And let me ask you about safety. You might have mentioned this when I had to step out of the room. I would assume that you haven't invented this safety issue. This is probably a well-studied national thing of traffic safety engineers, right?
Absolutely. We don't experiment with our residents with safety. We use tested and approved tools in the toolbox, if you want to call it that, from the state and from the Federal Highway Administration. They are the ones that do the testing and let us know what is gonna work and what's not gonna work. And roundabouts are just get a resounding yes at all levels of the safest treatment under certain conditions again. They don't work everywhere. And we have to decide what's the best solution to the problem. So it's not something where people could come in and say, well, we want a roundabout. Well, we have to say, well, what's the problem you want us to solve? And then we'll let you know if that's the best treatment or not.
Okay.
In this particular case, it is the best treatment that we could apply for the benefit of this roadway.
And the last thing I want to say is, and Councilman Goods, I'm glad you brought this up, is in regard to WMBE, SBE, BBE, what have you, you're negotiating right now with this vendor. This is the great opportunity to push them super hard on the minority part of this component. At whatever phase is appropriate, but you know, just I'm telling you, and I'm telling Mr. Hart, and I'm telling the administration, Mr. Bennett, and all of them, come back to us with a fantastic minority percentage on this one. Show us that we can really push and make good progress, you know, whether or not it's 15% or 20%, as opposed to 2.6% that we saw earlier today. And then I'm sure you'll have our strong support. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And Councilman Coots, did you have something, sir?
Ms. Duncan, Ms. Toombs, she was in the office. He saw me went out. She still had her concerns about the safety for the children.
Yes.
So I've given her my card, and I'm gonna have my aide get her information when she does and get that to you, so you can ensure her about the safety of the children and the plan, so she'll be comfortable in reference to the children at those particular schools, because I do know the kids from Potter walk to some of the other community parks down that street. We've talked about that, so she will know that, hey, it's however this council is about to go forward with this project or not, but she knows what your plans are in regards to the children. Okay?
I'm happy to do that. We are upgrading the safety zone along Potter Elementary as part of this project. And we've got lots of our folks out actually today doing the Great American Teach-In, and I would suspect at least some of them are talking about roadway safety and roundabouts. So we're happy to offer anything we can to discuss these things with folks so they can ask questions and we can give them more information.
Thank you.
And just in closing myself, you know, I'm reminded of, I think it was Abraham Lincoln who said it, you can please some of the people all the time, you can please all the people some of the time, but you can't please all of the people all the time, I believe it ended. You know, being in public office myself and a district council member, I know I've encountered issues where I know you're going to have to take a stand. And you're going to have some people that support you. You're going to have some people that don't support you, and then you got to take the heat, and that's just the way that it is. And Councilman Goods, I appreciate you bringing this up. I know it's a very contested issue in your district, so I appreciate you bringing this up, sir. It goes without saying. For me, roundabouts, there's no debate. They're pro safety. They're there not to, you know, entangle the community in strife. They're there not to take away people's property. Again, the property taking has been extremely minimal by all appearances here. They're here to save lives. They're here to promote safety. They're going to be a benefit to any area that they get put in. I know there's been talks on a roundabout in New Tampa. I know obviously Forest Hills has the very well-known one at Country Club. And those things save lives. And I forgot who mentioned, I think it may have been Councilman Carlson, the famous one over in Clearwater. And that certainly colors a lot of people's views, and I totally understand that. But when you look at the objective facts on it, they only lead to one direction, in my humble opinion. So, but thank you very much, ma'am.
Yes.
We appreciate it.
I do appreciate the comment about modern roundabouts, because that is a good distinction.
Yes, true.
These are modern roundabouts. We collectively have learned how to design them better over time. And again, these are 2-lane roundabouts, unlike the 40th Street roundabouts, which have 2 lanes in both directions. These have 1 lane in each direction, which makes them a little easier to negotiate through. So, but thank you all for your support, and again, apologize for the technical difficulties with
That's
the presentation.
All right. That's all right. Thank you, ma'am. And Councilman Miranda, you want to make a motion on time?
30 minutes extension.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Miranda, second by Councilman Escalco. All in favor? Any opposed? Now, Councilman Goods, your lunch, is that time certain by any chance?
I think it's 12:30. Ladies want to do it at 12:30.
Nice. Okay, good. So let's, yes?
You didn't have a personal conversation with Lincoln, did you?
No, I did not. He died 1865, April 14th. So, yeah, well before my time. Okay, so next we move to our 85, Mr. Snelling.
Good morning, Council. Tom Snelling, Planning and Development. This motion that was in front of you was made a couple of years ago by then Councilman Suarez. And when he made that motion, he did that to have the Green Office report on an annual basis, and that's what that was. It was self-populated by the clerk's office. As you know, it was just back here in October, gave you that update. So my request is that you just remove this motion altogether from the clerk's office and council's agenda, and then just when the new sustainability and resilient officer is brought on board, just start to match up your motions with that first report and go forward like that.
So moved.
We have a motion by Councilman Dingfelder, a second by Councilman Goods. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Mr.
Thank you,
Sheldon.
and I did not have a PowerPoint.
And council, just for the.
We thank thee.
Just for clarification for the clerk, then there will be no next annual report scheduled on November 19th, 2020 as a result of this motion. Is that correct? Is that, okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Now,
you, Counsel.
before, Ms. Zellman, item number 89, is that going to be taking at the end, or? Yes, please. Because I see Ms. Grimes here. Are you here for 89, ma'am, or if you wish to come forward, you may? It would appear so, since Ms. Grimes is here. Oh.
Morning, I'm here, Gina Grimes, City Attorney. I'm here for item 89 on the agenda, which was a request for a resolution opposing preemption. And it's my understanding that there has been an alternative proposed, a letter instead of a resolution. And I believe, Mr. Citro, if you want to
Yes.
explain where you were coming from on that.
Thank you, Ms. Grimes. You all have a letter that I am proposing that we send to the Hillsborough County legislative delegation. It is with my hope that through this letter, if we do send it out, that we will get more collaboration, not only from surrounding cities, but from the League of Cities here in Florida, also with our community. Not only with the tree something, say something, but also the people that are opposed to any type of grow houses in the East Tampa neighborhood. Resolutions are a wonderful thing, but I feel that we can get much more traction as a city council asking the Hillsborough County Legislative Delegation to please work with us, approach us before they may do anything in the future, and check with our code and ordinances so that we are not bound in the future. And I hope that I can get your support on this letter.
Any questions, comments by council? And just I want to say something that traditionally most, I think, people in our delegation have been supportive. I may be missing a person or two, and actually I am, but so most, I'll emphasize the words most. I remember a former state representative, Sean Harrison, who comes from the majority party, typically would oppose, I think, many preemption issues, not all, but many. So I think that we have some good friends, so this will be able to encourage our friends and those who are either new, such as, for example, State Representative Beltran and others. It'll encourage them to see the light if they're not there. So I would support this. So we have did you want to say anything else?
Does it need to be read in its entirety, or can I just submit it?
No, basically, if you can, it's been presented to council. Does the clerk have a copy yet? You do,
Clerk
okay.
does have a copy.
Okay, the question then is taking up this item, and we'll then have to see what the effect on number 89 is, but if that's the case, the other thing, Mr. Chairman, is normally a letter from City Council. The way it's drafted now, it's the City Council would like to share our collective concern. Normally that is sent out under the signature of the chair, historically. Is that the intent of the maker of the motion?
That is my intent.
Do you wish to sign it,
Well, if it is coming from the full city council,
Yeah,
Mr.
then-
Chair, I would
Okay.
have you sign it on our behalf.
Okay, I'm more than happy to do so.
And the other, and that'll be fine then. If that's the pleasure of council, then a motion to that effect would be in order.
Councilman Dingfelder.
Question, Two questions. Ms. Grimes, have you all had a chance to review the letter?
Yes, yes, I
Okay,
have.
and you're comfortable with the letter?
Yeah, I gave some further modifications to Mr. Citro this morning with respect to the letter. And so with those
So-
edits, I'm fine.
The letter that was circulated to us at the beginning of the meeting is the one you've seen?
Yes.
It's the one I saw and reviewed, but I did modify that letter that you received yesterday.
Okay.
And what you received yesterday had been modified by what you received this morning.
Okay, and
That's
the
what my
and
understanding
the
is.
clerk has a copy of what we're talking about if we're about to vote on it? There we go.
That's
Thank
the
you.
provision.
That's it, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Citro, I believe, most second by Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And now,
Ms.
Council Chair, I'm sorry, Marty, do you have something you want to say?
no, I'm just wondering once this item is complete, then we have to go back about what happens to the item 89, whether that's removed from the agenda.
I'll strike 89
Okay.
in light of what the action we just took.
Thank you,
Is
sir.
that a motion, sir?
Yep,
Second?
by
Second.
Councilman Goods. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank
Oh,
you.
Yes, sir.
Thanks.
If I may, council, thank you very much for joining me in this. I do appreciate it. I must give thanks where thanks is due. Thank you, Ms. Grimes, for your help in this. I am a ideas person. I'm not a wordsmith, so I'd like to thank my aide, Mr. Tim Hemmerline, for putting this letter together. He's the one that has crafted it and orated it so well. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, sir. Okay, well, now we move to committee reports. Councilman Citro, Public Safety.
Yes, I'd like to move.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, just a question that was raised to me that I'm just relaying to you. Rather than doing committee reports, if you want to do this 9:30-second reads before.
Committee
12:30?
reports take 2 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're at 2 minutes. And then we'll race through all those as fast as we can. Go ahead, let's proceed with all deliberate speed. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move agenda items number 6 through 19.
Motion by Councilman Citro, second by Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Did you say 19?
Oh, I'm sorry, 6 through 23.
Okay, amended motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Councilman Goods, Parks Rec.
So make a motion, items removed, 24 through 26.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Goods, second by Councilman Citro. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next, Councilman Dingfelder, Public Works.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will move items 27 through, it appears 40.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Dingfelder, second by Councilman Citro. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Councilman Miranda, Finance.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Miranda, second by Councilman Citro. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Councilman Carlson, Building Zoning.
I move items 48 through 63.
Motion by Councilman Carlson, second by Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Councilman Maniscalco, Transportation.
I move items 64 through 69.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Maniscalco, second by Councilman Citro. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, next, if I may, we have items 70 through 72.
I'd like
May I have a
to
motion?
set items 70, 71, and 72 to be scheduled collectively here, January 23rd, 2019 at 10:30 a.m. for item 70, February 6, 2020, 10:30 a.m. for 71, and 72, February 6, 2020 at 10:30 a.m.
We have a motion by Councilman Maniscalco, second by Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, may I have a motion, open public hearings?
Second.
Second.
We have thank you, sir. We have a motion by Councilman Miranda, second by Councilman Citro. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And if you are here to speak in a public quasi-judicial hearing, please stand if you're able to do so. Prepare to be sworn in.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give today is the truth and nothing but the truth?
Okay, we have item 73. Anybody here for 73? Go ahead, ma'am.
Mary Samaniego, Planning, Design, and Development Coordination. Items 73 through 78, these are all second readings from your first readings on the evening meeting of October 24th, 2019. All required changes have been completed and are at the city clerk's office.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay. Anyone here from the public to comment on item 73? If so, please come forward. Being none, may I have a motion to close, please? Oh, I'm sorry. Come forward.
Good morning, it's still morning. Leslie Hudock of 401 East Jackson Street, Tampa, Florida, on behalf of the Yingling Brewing Company. We are here to request your approval of the ordinance. We have made all the changes that were requested by staff to the site plan, and we request your approval.
Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate it. Any questions? Okay, anybody here for public comment on item 73? Motion to close by Councilman Miranda, second by Councilman Goods. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Councilman Dingfelder, can you take your item 73?
Sure, Mr. Chairman. In regard to item AB2 19-20, I'll move the following ordinance for second reading and adoption. Okay. An ordinance approving a special use permit S2 for alcoholic beverage sales, large venue, consumption on premises, and package sales off premises consumption, and making lawful the sale of beverages regardless of alcoholic content, beer, wine, and liquor at or from that certain lot, plot, or tract of land located at 11111 North 30th Street, Tampa, Florida, as more particularly described in Section 2, that all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict are repealed, provide an effective date.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Dingfelder, second by Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hopefully I won't have to read it.
Please vote.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you, ma'am. 74.
Good afternoon. My name is Terry Haley. I'm representing the Bastet Brewing, and we're just seeking approval for our initial reading on the 24th of October.
Thank you very much, sir. Any questions for the petitioner? Okay, being none, is anybody here from the public to speak on item 74? If so, please come forward.
Second.
Motion to close by Councilman Miranda, second by Councilman Niscalco. All in favor? Any opposed? Councilman Goods, can you, sir, take 74?
74, file AB 2-19-23, ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption. The ordinance approving a special use permit S2 for alcoholic beverage sales, small venue consumption on premises and package sales / off premises consumption, and making lawful the sale of beer and wine at or from that certain lot, plot or tract of land located at 1951 Adamo Drive, Unit B, Tampa, Florida, as more particularly described in Section 2, providing that all ordinance or part of the ordinance on conflict are repealed, providing an effective date.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Goods, second by Councilman Niscalco. Please record your vote.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Next, item 75.
Good morning, Council. Steve Michelini, representing the petitioner. We've met all the burdens that the city has requested, and we respectfully request your approval.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for the petitioner? Okay, is anybody here to publicly comment on item 75? If so, please come forward.
Second.
Motion to close by Councilman Miranda, second by Councilman Niscalco. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Councilman Niscalco, if you feel comfortable, sir, reading 75.
Thank you very much. I have a substitute ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption, an ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 3123 and 3125 West Okeller Avenue in the city of Tampa, Florida, and more particularly described in Section 1 from zoning district classification RS50 residential single family to PD plan development residential single family detached, providing an effective date.
Okay, motion by Councilman Niscalco, second by Councilman Miranda. Please do record your vote.
Motion carried with Harrison voting no.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you. Next, we move to item 76.
Good afternoon. Leslie Hudak, 401 East Jackson Street, Tampa, Florida, here on behalf of petitioner with respect to item number 76. We respectfully request your approval of the ordinance.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions? Okay, thank you, ma'am. Anybody here from the public here to comment on 76? If so, please come forward.
Second.
Motion to close by Councilman Miranda, second by Councilman Niscalco. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Councilman Citro, can you, sir, take 76?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. File number REZ 19-74.
an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption, ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 11111 North 30th Street in the city of Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in section 1 from zoning district classification, IH, industrial heavy, to PD, planned development, heavy manufacturing, microbrewery, restaurant, retail sales, specialty goods, private cultural facility, bar lounge, hotel, motel, providing an effective date as petitioner has met the burden of proof through confident substantial evidence, and including the site revision plans.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Citro, second by Councilman Maniscalco. Please record your vote.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, ma'am. 70.
Item 73 to, Mr. Chairman, what is the last one we have here?
70.
82.
There you go. Motion by Councilman Miranda, second by whom?
Second.
By Councilman Maniscalco. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, go ahead, sir.
This is 77?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I didn't understand that motion. Clayton Bricklemeyer, representing respondent, 601 North Ashley Drive. We've made the revisions that were requested by staff and would respectfully ask for your approval.
Thank you, sir. Any questions by council? Anyone? Okay. Thank you, sir. Anyone here to publicly comment on item 77?
Second.
Motion to close by Councilman Miranda, second, I believe, first by Councilman Citro. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Councilman Miranda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Move file number 77, REZ 19-76. An order being presented for second reading and adoption. An orders rezoning property in general vicinity of 710 and 712 West Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard in the city of Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in section 1 from zoning district classification RO1 residential office to PD plan development, medical offices, and business professional office, providing an effective date.
Second. Second, motion by Councilman Miranda, second by Councilman Citro. Please record your vote.
Motion carried with Carlson, Maniscalco, and then further voting no.
Thank you, ma'am. Next, we move onward to item 78.
Good afternoon, council members. Brandon Masiello at 655 North Franklin Street in Tampa, Florida, here to respectfully request your approval of the ordinance.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for the petitioner in 78? Okay, a public comment. Anybody here to publicly comment on item 78? If so, please come forward.
Move to close.
Motion to close by Councilman Maniscalco, second by Councilman Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Councilman Carlson, do you, sir, feel comfortable taking 78?
Sure. I'd like to move file number SU 2-19-06, ordinance being presented for second reading adoption. Ordinance approving a special use permit, S2 approving parking off-street commercial in an RM16 residential multifamily zoning district in the general vicinity of 111 South Fremont Avenue in the city of Tampa, Florida, and as more particularly described in section 1 hereof, providing an effective date.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Carlson, second by Councilman Maniscalco. Please record your vote.
Motion carried with Dean Felder voting no.
Thank you. Next, we have item 79, which I think we can get through by 12:30. It appears to be
This is the one.
relatively. Oh,
This is the one that I have to.
if
have
you
to
need a
abstain.
statement, sir, go ahead.
Yeah, I have to abstain. My company has a client related to this issue.
Okay, thank you, Councilman. Okay, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Justin Vasky, Assistant City Attorney. This is with regards to item number 79 on the agenda. This is an IRS-required TEFRA hearing for the issuance of tax-exempt private activity bonds by the Public Finance Authority for the benefit of the Ultimate Medical Academy. The city is not issuing bonds here, nor is the city being asked to serve as a conduit issuer. Moreover, the city's name will not appear on the bonds, nor will the city's credit be involved with this bond. This is merely an accommodation to Ultimate Medical Academy, a not-for-profit corporation located in the city of Tampa that educates and trains students in the healthcare field. Section 147F of the Internal Revenue Code requires the issuance of tax-exempt private activity bonds such as these to be approved, and in this case by a resolution, by the governmental unit having jurisdiction over the area in which the private activity bond finance facility is located, and after a noticed public hearing. In this case, Ultimate Medical Academy's facilities are located within the city and this hearing was noticed as required by the IRS code. I am here, representatives of the Ultimate Medical Academy are here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Any questions? Okay, may I have someone move the
Move the
resolution? Yes, sir. Oh, thank you, I apologize. Is anyone here from the public here to comment on item 79?
Move the resolution 79.
Okay, motion by Councilman Miranda, second by Councilman Maniscalco, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
And now motion to close it.
Move to close the public hearing.
Second by whom?
Second.
Motion by Councilman Maniscalco, second by Councilman Miranda, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we obviously will not
Can we
get
just have that
to.
announced, please, by the clerk?
Oh, yes,
Motion carried unanimously with Carlson abstaining.
okay.
And,
Gentlemen, everybody
no.
good to go to lunch right now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, council's gonna take a recess until 1:30, when we will return for the remaining 3 hearings and any other items and motions. Okay, thank you.